for some reason. Just I had to go with it. I'm like, that'd be a cool name for a podcast. I'm like, I better start a podcast.
I better do it then. And also, we got the wonderful Kate Dore from the International House of Vinyl. Check her out. She's got great waffles at great prices. And she's very knowledgeable of everything she's selling. So it's good. And I am your host, Andy Rodriguez, also known as the Black Spinner. Like I said, today we're going to be doing 1972. And the past couple of times we've been doing top 10 of a certain year, we've been starting to do pop culture of that year. So we'll get started. Who can guess who won the Super Bowl in 1972?
1970, is that the Dolphins undefeated or the season?
No, that was Dolphins 71.
Shit.
But the Dolphins played in this one, but they got beat.
Oh, the Colts?
No. It's somewhere near where I live.
Dallas?
Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
Won in 1972.
Cowboys, baby.
Cowboys won in 1972. Who won the World Series? And in fact, this team won 4 World Series in the 1970s.
Was it Oakland?
Oakland A's won in 1972 with Raleigh Fingers and Vita Blue. Who won the NBA in 1972?
The Bucks?
No, it wasn't the Bucks. It was a team that I think just relocated to their city that they're at now. And then their star player started making kung fu movies.
I should know it, but I'm drawing a blank.
The Los Angeles Lakers won in 72. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar started making movies with Bruce Lee.
Oh, okay. He was also on an airplane.
Yeah. And an airplane. And the Stanley Cup. I don't know too much about hockey, but I like to cover all 4.
I think I know this one.
So the Stanley Cup in 1972.
New York Islanders.
No.
No.
A little bit more north than that.
Canadians?
Edmonton?
Huh?
Edmonton?
Boston Bruins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Bruins.
Also, your era. Okay, yeah.
What won Oscar for Best Picture in 1972?
Godfather?
No, but that was the highest grossing movie of 72. The Godfather won in 73.
Wasn't a Clockwork Orange, I don't think.
No, it was a Clockwork Orange. It starred Gene Hackman.
Poseidon Adventure?
No, it was the movie before that, The French Connection.
French Connection.
I started watching that the other day, and I want to finish it. What was the highest grossing movie of 72? We just covered it.
Godfather,
yeah. What was the song of the year? What won Grammy for Song of the Year? It's a ballad.
It's a ballad?
Yeah, it's a ballad.
Female or male?
Female.
Is it Carole King?
No, I will even give you the artist. Just guess the song. Roberta Flack.
Oh, First Time I Ever Saw Your Face?
First Time I Ever Saw Your Face. Yeah, that was it. Man, that is a ballad, but man, she's got a great voice.
Yeah, she does.
What won for Best Album? Album of the Year, a Grammy. I'll give you a hint. We talked about it a few weeks ago because of the Scorpions.
Oh, man.
It's a live album.
Because of the Scorpions.
Yeah.
A live album won Best Album of the Year?
Yeah, wow. 1972. It was also the first benefit concert as well.
Oh, was it George Harrison?
Concert for Bangladesh.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Bangladesh. Yeah, I went to the Scorpions concert. It was the 50-year anniversary of that.
Yeah.
I know, that was the hint.
No shit.
I was way off. I wasn't even in your ballpark.
I was very surprised. I was like, really? What was the best-selling album of 1972? It was a compilation. It was a compilation. It was the greatest hits by a duo that just broke up in 1970.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel's greatest hits.
I was gonna say Seals and Crofts. I'm like, I think that guy just died today. Actually, by the way.
Yeah, he died yesterday.
Yes.
Yesterday.
Yeah, man. You know what? I'm gonna spin this later on tonight. I'm a big Simon and Garfunkel fan.
Oh, they're great.
I mean, the harmonies and
so many great songs.
Yeah, really, there is. Last but not least, what was the most watched TV show of 1972? I know that we weren't around, but
I was. 1972, the most watched show. Was it a TV show or
it was a sitcom.
Okay.
Had a lot of politics in it.
I was around. I just popped out.
Nash wasn't around yet.
Nope. I'll give you a person that came out in it. Maureen Stapleton.
All in the Family?
All in the Family.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She played Edith.
I didn't know that show was that old, actually. I guess it
And
is.
in fact, they were number one for a while, like 71, 72,
Love that
73. And which led to a lot of spin-offs. It led to the Jeffersons,
Archie Bunker's Place.
Dude,
Arthur Bunker's Place, Maude.
that episode with Sammy Davis Jr. is one of the best shows in television history.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I like the one when George and Louise would come out. Okay. So let's get started with our top 10. We'll just go in the row that we're at. We'll go Jerry, Al, and Kate, and then we'll finish with me, and then we'll go on and on, and then we'll go on and on. And after we do our top 10, we'll go ahead and do our 5 honorable mentions. All right. Are we all ready to go?
Yeah.
Sure.
Jerry, what you got?
My number 10 is a band from England that never really made it big in the United States, really. Except for the early 80s, they had kind of a little breakthrough. It's Slade by Slade.
Oh, yeah.
Came out in November 1972. And me and Andy were talking about this earlier. It's like Quiet Riot owns half of their career to them.
Yeah.
Come on, Feel the Noise, Mama, We're All Crazy Now. Those are all Slade songs. A lot of people don't realize that. And Goodbye to Jane was a Britney Fox song. Wasn't a very big song, but that's another song that they copied. I love Noddy Holder's voice. He's a great singer. Dave Hill, great riffs on the guitar. Very underrated. I really am surprised they didn't break through in the U.S. But the album that did was something about Your Power Supply. I can't remember the name of it. But
I got that one. Yeah.
It's got this song called My Oh My on it. It's a ballad. Just a beautiful tune. And Run Away was a popular song on MTV back then.
That might have been their biggest hit in the U.S., right?
Yeah, I thought unfortunate they didn't make it big in the United States. I was a big fan of them.
Yeah.
Talk about Rock and Roll Hall of Fame material. I mean, they'll never get there, but they influenced a lot of glam bands and all that.
Yeah.
Even bands like Kiss, Gene Simmons, loved them. Anyway, that's my number 10.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's a great pick, man.
Yep.
That was their first album, right?
No, I think it was their second album.
Second one, okay.
Second or third. I think they started in the late 60s, I think, actually.
Okay, all right. Oh, Slade, yeah, because it's spelled S-L, like Slade.
Right.
Slade, yeah.
S-L-A-Y-E-D, yeah.
Yes, that's right. It was a play on the word.
Right.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of their song titles are a play on words.
Right.
The way they're spelled.
Like they spell cum, C-U-M.
It's a shame.
Not to sound like a pervert. I didn't mean it that way, but they spell all their words differently,
Yeah. With the way that they're pronounced.
Right.
It's a shame they weren't bigger, man, here. But they were massive in the UK and Europe, right?
And they still perform. And, they don't have their singer with them, but they still sound good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like I said, Keep Your Hands Off My Power Supply is the name of that album that made it big in the U.S. Give it a listen if you haven't, man. Some good tunes off it.
I always got them mixed up with a band that Sweet.
Sweet, yeah.
Those were the two. Yeah, those were the two premier, glam rock bands.
Yeah.
I saw the Sweet I don't know, probably 10 years ago. It was the bass player's Sweet because it was broken up into two.
Yeah.
The bass player who actually recently died as well. He was one of the original members. I think he died last year or something. And and I saw them, but they were great still, man. I mean, I was recognizing so many songs, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of glad, like I got to see them live. You know, it was cool. And David Johansen actually opened up for them. Was cool. He was kind of more stripped down. He was doing all sorts of stuff, man. You know,
I saw Sweet probably about 3 or 4 years ago it was them, Ace Frehley, Accept, Pat Travers, and Power Trip.
wow,
That's an interesting group.
what was that, a festival or something?
Yeah. It was hosted by Eddie Trunk,
Oh,
and
okay.
it was at a brewery.
Oh, okay.
So it was a small
What
place.
was it called?
It's called Foam Hedge.
Foamhead.
It's the name of the festival.
I always
Yeah.
heard Eddie promoting that back in the day, back a few years ago.
Hopefully it comes again this year. They haven't been doing it because of COVID, because the brewery's like 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah, Foamhead.
So
cool,
I
man.
would go back and forth,
Yeah.
to it. Man, they got great beer there. I liked it there. Al, what's your number 10?
Well, my number 10, I'm going with Ziggy Stardust by David Bowie. Although actually this is not my favorite David Bowie period. I prefer the Berlin trilogy, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Isn't that what it's called, Kate? What do they usually call that?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of the mid to late 70s period.
His later stuff, yeah.
Yeah, like
Low.
Lodge, the one with
That's a
Heroes
great
on it
record.
and all that stuff.
And like Monster, I think, is on there as well.
Yeah.
Then he like changes his
Okay,
personality.
Rock and Roll Suicide. That's a great
Yeah.
tune,
Yeah,
man.
it goes from like Ziggy Stardust to Aladdin Sane.
Suffragette
So he
City,
changes
Starman.
Yeah, that's all on this
Switched
album.
his
Man.
personality, yeah.
Yeah, but this is still a great album, man.
It is.
I mean, and the fact that I even have it on number 10, like, just goes to show you that there's a lot of great albums in 1972. Because I got a lot of great honorable mentions too, but this had to make the top 10. But yeah, like, Moon Age Daydream, Starman, Ziggy Stardust, Suffragette City, Rock and Roll Suicide. I mean, it's classic from top to bottom. So
Yeah, it's a badass album.
every time I look at the sound cover now, I always laugh because I'm always like, did he have Kanye West on his album? I gotta laugh though, man, because it always makes me like think of that now. But no, man, number 10 is Ziggy Stardust.
It's a great album.
Yeah.
Not to mention some Bowie. You guys ever did you guys like him when he did a Tin Machine?
I like Tin Machine, dude.
I love them. I thought they rocked pretty hard.
Yeah.
I like that band.
Reeves Gabriel
Gabriel,
was
man.
great
Awesome.
guitar player, man.
Yeah.
Really underrated. He really he was doing stuff that kind of predated what like Tom Morello ended up doing, with like Rage Against the Machine and stuff, like all the weird like kind of shit like on the guitar with like effects.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, dude, definitely. Like give him a listen, man. I mean,
The dude is incredible. He's an incredible player, man.
Yeah.
I think they made only 2 albums, right? They had
Yeah,
Tin
one and
Machine
two.
1 and Tin Machine 2.
Yeah, that's it.
The only band David Bowie said it was actually a democracy.
Yeah.
that he was in. Yeah.
Katie, what you got?
Yeah.
I went with Blue Oyster Cult's Blue Oyster Cult.
Great debut.
Debut album. I mean, it's not my favorite Blue Oyster Cult, but it's damn good.
No, it's real good.
I feel like you can't go wrong with Blue Oyster Cult, though. I mean, it's great rock. It's a little bit psych. It's like a good mix of a bunch of different scopes, I guess. But
Cities on Fire.
Cities on Flame with rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Yep.
Great stuff.
Yep. Then came The Last Days of May. I mean, this one has a bunch of big ones. And like when you go to their Spotify, that's like 2 of the songs in their top 5 are on this album. So I mean, it's a pretty killer album, and especially a kick-ass album for a debut album. I mean,
Right? Yeah.
that's a big deal to me when someone can like bust out a debut that's that good and then go from there. Like they have so many other good albums that they've done since, and that's not like some bands you get that one off, like their debut, and they're always chasing the dragon for that after.
Right.
but they weren't a band that was like that. So yeah, BOC.
Yeah.
Get their last album too, man. Their last album was like fantastic.
I still have not heard a
Yeah.
single song from it yet. I have to listen to it.
Dude, you gotta. I mean, for a band that far into their career, 50 years into their career, man, like it's a strong album, you know.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, Jerry and I were talking about bands coming out of England and stuff, and for that sound that Blue Oyster Cult had, you know, hard rock and heavy metal, and them being Americans and coming from New York City,
Yeah.
you know, that was big at that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there weren't that many bands playing that kind of music coming out.
That was a
from
different
Europe.
sound. Yeah, that was like a really different sound for the time, especially like the two coasts and not having that many things drop. I feel like that were big rock albums like that.
And being heavy like they are.
Mhm.
Or were. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
And speaking of heavy music, my number 10 is going to be Jim Croce. Don't mess with Jim. This is a great debut album. You know, he passed away very shortly after. He only made 2 albums, but I want to say that this guy even might have invented.
I'm sorry, he only made 2 albums.
Yeah, he only made 2.
Really? Seems
Yeah.
like he would have like 30 albums. I mean,
No, he made this one and Life and Times, and then he passed away.
wow.
So there's a lot of compilations, but there's 2 studio albums is all there is. The tracks on here, Don't Mess Around with Jim. New York's Not My Home, which is a great track. I love that song. Photographs and Memories, Walking Back to Georgia. Operator, That's Not the Way It Feels. Time in a Bottle. I mean, all this sounds like greatest hits.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, it's all off his debut album. You know, so that's my number 10 is Jim Croce. Don't Mess Around with Jim. Great, and it's weird because he's such a prolific songwriter that can tell tales, and he just sounds so authentic. You know, so that's why I put him up there. Number 9, Jerry.
Yeah, I never knew that about him. I thought he would have like 10, 15 albums out because
No.
you hear him all the time still. So
Yeah.
Wow.
He only had those 2, and he his plane and I was reading about his death. It was a plane crash that the pilot was held accountable because he took off during fog and he couldn't really see.
Yeah, they didn't clear the tree line.
Yeah, it was the tree line. They didn't clear the tree line.
man.
Yeah. So it was like right at takeoff.
He's only like 34 too.
And he
Like,
was
he's-
30.
Yeah, he's
Wow.
super young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And he had just made an appearance at on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. And that had happened. Jerry, what's your number 9?
Number 9 came out in March of 1917. My favorite album by the band personally, Machine Head by Deep Purple.
Yeah, dude. Can't go wrong with that classic.
No.
Oh, you went silent.
Oh, wait.
You're muted, Jerry.
Hold on.
Andy's muted.
Okay,
And-
Jerry. Can't hear you.
You're muted. What happened, man?
Should be in the middle on the
Did
bottom,
he
and
hit-
you can unmute.
Did he hit it by accident?
There you go.
There, got
Good.
it.
Anyway, okay, sorry guys.
I was on. Is anyone going to talk about it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Go for
Machine Head, Deep Purple, that's it. No. I mean, Richie Blackmore, man, one of the best guitarists in history. A lot of people will disagree with me on that being the best Deep Purple album, but in my opinion, it is. I mean, Highway Star is like the ultimate driving tune, man. I mean, how can you not crank it up and go 100 miles an hour and listen to that song?
You got a freaking floor when you hear that one.
Listen,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Deep Purple were underrated, but they're underappreciated in my opinion. You know,
When you compare them with, he hit the mute again.
There
There
we
you
go.
go.
well, I figured out what it is now, so that's an easy fix. I don't know what I'm doing. How am I doing that? Oh, I see. Never mind. My dumb ass is hitting that. You click it is knocking the mouse over. Okay. Anyway, yeah, that's my number 9 pick. Machine Head, Deep Purple.
What were you gonna say about Deep Purple, Al?
No, I you know, when you to me, like, the big three of like heavy music is Zeppelin, Sabbath, and Purple. Purple doesn't get talked as much here in America, you know,
Right.
as much as the other two. So they get a little lost in the shuffle. But I mean, and it sucks because, like, I mean, really, the only song by them you hear on classic rock radio is like "Smoke on the Water."
Yeah.
And occasionally, you'll hear like, you know, "Space Truckin'" or even like "Highway Star," or that's really it. You know, maybe "My Woman from Tokyo," but like, it's very rare when you hear. I mean, especially in the New York City area, because sometimes I'll turn on the radio and they play the same shit. It's always like, it's always "Smoke on the Water," man. It's like, dude, they have so many fucking more songs than that, dude. You know, it's like, give me a break, man. Like, change up your playlist a little bit. You know, that's why.
Especially when you got a band with that huge of a catalog, man. It's like,
very big.
Although I can't. Although the radio stations we have here in New Jersey are way better than the New York stations. They cover way more. They'll play a lot more deep cuts and stuff. So I mean, the station that Eddie Trunk guys started with, WDHA, they're still around now. And you know, if I do listen to the radio at all, I'll turn them on because
I had to buy Sirius because the radio stations.
Yeah, I have Sirius too. You know,
they totally blow. The stations around here, local ones, totally blow. Man.
Yeah. I'm all over the place, man. I'll either listen to I'll stream whatever, or I still have my CD player in my car. I'll put CDs in, you know.
Not just a CD player, you've also got a cassette deck, don't you?
Oh, that's in my dad's truck when I borrowed his truck.
Oh, okay. I was like, dude, where the hell is CD player with a cassette?
Yeah, I was doing a cassette thing like every day. Like, you remember that, Andy? When I was doing that?
Yeah.
So there was a time when my parents went to Portugal, my dad was like, they usually go for 3 months at a clip. So my dad's always like, garage your car and just use my truck, you know, put miles on my truck, don't put them on your car. So like, he has a Pathfinder and it has a 6-disc changer in there, but it doesn't work. The only thing that works is the radio and the cassette player. So I'll dig out like my box of cassettes and it's fun actually, man, because there's a lot of albums that I never upgraded onto CD or whatever that I still have on cassette. So it's kind of fun. It's a trip down memory lane, and I get to hear a lot of albums that like I haven't heard in a long time. But yeah, I mean, it's fun, man. So that's my dad's truck. That has the cassette player. So
cool. Number 9, Al.
Oh, my number 9 is "Close to the Edge" by Yes.
Was there like 3 songs on that? But they're all 3 songs, all pretty awesome, man.
"Close to the Edge" and "You and I" and "Siberian Control."
Dude, I love what they experimented with on that album, man.
Dude, I mean, this is classic, like probably the pinnacle of Yes, man. If you want to, you know, with
Bill, like the Doppler effect, all kinds of shit on that album. It's amazing. Yeah,
unbelievable. I mean, it's just like they were I mean, 72, man. I mean, progressive rock was in full bloom.
Yeah.
You know, it was really like huge at the time. And these guys were pretty much the kings, man.
Was that Alan White's first album, or was that?
No, it's still Bill Bruford on here.
Bill Bruford, okay. This might have been his last, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, I think this was his last one, and then Alan White came in. So, and you know, rest in peace, Alan White, because I know he just passed away. So
passed away last week. Yeah. I think he started with the topographic,
Tales of Topographic Oceans.
Yeah. Thank you.
But I think he was on the live album before that, though.
Oh, was he? Okay.
So he really kind of started off on the live, but studio album, he was on Tales of Topographic Ocean. So, but yeah, man, number 9, man, "Close to the Edge," man. I love this album.
Yeah.
You know, you could just put it on and just kind of just drift away into the progressive rock, fucking
into the excess of it. No.
3 songs, man.
Love it. Kate, what's your number 9?
I went with Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Trilogy.
Great record.
Yes. Great record. So many killer songs. Even Lake himself said this is their best album. I just read that earlier. So This one, I don't know. I ended up getting into Emerson, Lake and Palmer because my mom, and the first song I heard by them was In the Beginning, and then, well, From the Beginning, but that stuck with me forever. Like, that song is so amazing. The guitar work on that, like, yeah.
I love that song, man.
Yeah.
I like Emerson, Lake and Palmer. They're fantastic.
They have a ton of great stuff, but this one really sticks with me.
Again, look how big progressive rock was in this year, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's not the only progressive rock album I have on my list. So.
And then those two bands, Yes, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer ended up becoming Asia mostly, right? Just about.
Yeah.
That's a great band too.
Yeah, great pick.
I have a lot of third studio albums. Like, it's like 5, 6 of my picks are like third studio albums of these bands. It's really bizarre. Wow. But this is, I don't know. I guess there's these other bands, like I said, that BOC's debut and then going into like keeping it going, and they hit their stride. There's quite a few from 72 that are third albums, and they're just awesome. So, but go ahead, Andy. What's your number 9?
I am looking forward to hearing that, especially the Connection Band being a third album. But this is the second album by this band. This is a little band from Texas. ZZ Top's Real Grand Mud.
Nice.
This is a badass album. This is great. Francine, this also has the first hit, Just Got Paid. Just got paid today. Chevrolet is a really good track. Cocoa Blue, Whiskey and Mama. This is some, the thing with ZZ Top is that they don't sound, in the 70s, even into the 80s, they didn't sound like anybody else. When they played ZZ Top, you knew it was ZZ Top.
Yeah, even like when Eliminator came out, it still sounded like ZZ Top in a weird way, but
it did.
As far as the way it's produced, but it was still ZZ Top,
Yeah. But Real Grand Mud, it's a really good album. It's their second. So that's my number 9.
Nice, good pick.
Number 8, huh? Number 8 is Monkey's Toe by Elton John, man.
Nice.
Great Rocket Man, Conky Cat. One of my favorite songs by Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatter.
Woohoo!
Fucking love that tune. You're talking about a match made in heaven, man. Him and Bertie Taupon, man, were, just an amazing duo of writing music. I mean, Elton John said those two never got into a fight in their whole professional career. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
How is that possible? But, man, it worked, man. They turned out some hits, man. I'm a huge Elton John fan, so I was debating on putting that up a little further, but, like I think these other ones are, worthy of where they're at. But that's my number 8.
Man, but Mona Lisa and Mad Hatters.
Love that
track. Great track. Wake up and say good morning to the night. Ow.
Number 8 is Obscured by Clouds by Pink Floyd. This was actually served as a soundtrack for a French movie called La Vallée, The Valley, in 1972. This is like kind of a precursor of the sound they were going for towards.
It was right between Metal and Dark Side. It was right between those two.
Yeah, and Metal is like one of my favorite Floyd albums. And like this. But this is like, I didn't never pick this up until like many years later. I mean, I had the core, the ones that everybody has, Dark Side, Wish You Were Here, and The Wall, Animals too. I guess the 70s albums, the mid to late 70s albums, and I never picked this up until like years and years later. And when I heard this, man, I was like, what the hell was I waiting for?
I know, that's a great one.
Because I don't know, man. And I got to hear David Gilmour do like What's the Deal live on one of his solo tours. It's got a song called Childhood's End, which is
Childhood's End, man. That was like his last. I think that's one of the only lyrics he wrote back then. I think.
Yeah. Cool.
That song's on my list, but it's way, way, way up further.
Yeah. A cool song called Free 4.
Oh yeah. It's the happiest sounding sad song in the world. It sounds happy, but the lyrics are really depressing.
That's a sign of a good songwriting thing, though. So but yeah, man. Number 8 is Pink Floyd, "Obscured by Clouds." If anybody out there has not heard this album, get it because it's really good, man.
Give all Pink Floyd a chance, man.
I recently got that one, but I didn't put it on this list because I haven't heard it enough.
Yeah.
Compared to what I have here, but every Pink Floyd. I
know mostly everybody's pretty much burnt out on Dark Side, so kind of go back a little bit to this one, man. It's like kind of a fresh, nice fresh take.
That metal and Uma Gilman, man, give him a shot, man.
Yeah. Adam Hart Mother, and those early 70s, but still,
another thing too that was really cool is before pandemic. I think it was 2019. So I saw Nick Mason's Saucerful of Secrets.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did come out with a CD with that.
And he does everything pre-Dark Side of the Moon. Doesn't go. Yeah. He doesn't even do anything from Dark Side of the Moon. He does from Obscured by Clouds before. Yeah. So he does all the cool Syd Barrett stuff. And the night that I saw him at the Beacon Theater here in New York, Roger Waters came out and surprised me. Yeah.
That would have been awesome.
That's cool. And they did. I think they did Careful with That Axe, Eugene. I think. And what else did they do?
Astronomy Domain.
No, well, they did that, but not with Roger though. Roger only on like 1 or 2 songs. So, and
but still, them drums that Nick does on there. Woo-hoo-hoo!
I think they have to be like Sierra and crap like that. I think.
Yeah. So if he ever comes back around, go catch him, man, because it's he does all the good early Floyd, so that nobody else touches.
Well, now David Gilmour is saying don't count it out as far as a tour.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what they would do about that, but without Rick White anymore, but Richard Wright. But
yeah.
Maybe him and Roger can bury the hatchet for a few shows. Maybe that'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be great. I would love to go see
that. What was that? When did that come out? The last time they all got together?
The Live 8.
The Live 8.
Yeah, that was just great, man. It was just one of my favorite times in music history. Four of them up there again. It was a great moment.
That and I was able to see Roger Waters when when they were doing it was Dark Side of the Moon thing.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. But I wanted to see The Wall, but I didn't get to see that.
Oh, dude, you missed one of the greatest spectacles ever, man.
You get a top A show with Roger Waters, and the tickets aren't as expensive as you think they are either.
Yeah.
At least they weren't here in Nashville. They were actually very reasonable for.
Oh no, I think here they were between 40 and 60, which isn't bad for Roger Waters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'll give you 2.5 hours of a show, man.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to go. I think something had happened, and I couldn't make it.
Right.
To go see him a second time. Kate, what's your number 8?
My number 8, I went with a John Prine. This one's Diamonds in the Rough. I know it's hard to see because I got my light on, but Diamonds in the Rough. This is his second studio album. This one has Souvenirs, which is a great song. I don't know how much John Prine you guys know.
I know the name, but I just can't picture any of the songs.
Clocks and Spoons is on here. Diamonds in the Rough is on here. Probably the biggest hit I'd guess on there is Souvenirs. A lot of people cover that. There's a bunch of different bands that'll cover that song.
So would you categorize him like country singer-songwriter or Americana?
Yeah, like folk singer-songwriter. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I feel like his first album's probably more, I don't even know if that's necessarily more country. He's singer-songwriter. I don't know, because he's not all country, but then some songs on here sound really country songish, like older outlaw country stuff, because he kind of came up in the same time. There's like his buddy that he always played with on all these is Steve Goodman. So I don't know if you guys know Steve Goodman. And then it was like Chris Christopherson discovered him and like got him into playing and got him signed in that. So he's in that bracket in my mind of like the outlaw guys, but he's like on the fringe of those guys. Because there's like the real country outlaw dudes like Willie Whalen, you know, those guys. And then like Christopherson kind of crosses the line. And I feel like Prine crosses the line a little bit back and forth of that. So he's in that spectrum. But yeah, if you don't know John Prine, I know I've told you guys before, you got to listen to that first drop. That first album of his, like people will call it Hay Bales, but it's just titled John Prine. And he dropped that when he was 24 and he was like fresh out of Vietnam. Phenomenal. I mean, it's just one of those albums that like Dylan's first album, like Tracy Chapman's first album, like people, they're super, super young. They drop an absolutely amazing album. It's like, how is someone so young, so prescient and connected and like a wordsmith? That blows my mind. I'm like, when I was 24, I was like a dizbop. I don't, you know, I still feel like a doofus, but it's like, how are you so good at what you do when you're so young? And that's like Croce's another dude that's like that. Like there's a handful of musicians that you're like, how are they such an old soul and so good at words and laying out exactly what story they want to tell? So I don't know. That's what's impressive to me. So this one's a really good Prine album. I dig this one a lot, but I feel like his first and his last albums are probably my favorite ones of his. So.
I gotta check that out. I did check out that first one, and
yeah,
there are some really good songs on there.
Yeah, like Crush You and Punch You in the Gut songs. Yeah. Check out his last album, Tree of Forgiveness. That one is killer too. All right, Andy, number 8.
Number 8. I was going in between 2 albums by this band because this band had 2 albums come out in 72, but I went with the earlier one from 72. Uriah Heep with Demons and Wizards.
Good one.
Really good. You know, we were talking about the drummer, Kerslake, you know, because he was on Blizzard of Oz, and he is also on the most popular or the better of the Uriah Heep in the early to mid to into late 70s. Title track here, The Wizard, Traveler in Time. This has Easy Living, which was their big hit on the radio. Rainbow Demon is on side 2, and it ends with Paradise the Spell, which is going to be their epic. Starts out pretty slow and really gets rocking. The thing that I liked about Uriah Heep is that they were a really good hard rock band, but kind of a science fiction to them with their songs, and I really dig them. So, Uriah Heep is my number 8. Demons and Wizards.
All right,
Jerry.
Number 7 came out in July 1970. Chicago 5. Saturday in the Park, While the City Sleeps. What else is on that album? Now That You're Gone.
A lot of great instrumentals in that on that album.
And Danny Seraphine was an incredible drummer, man.
Yeah.
Credit. I mean, it was the first first Chicago album that, in my opinion, made Chicago. I think the sound and everything.
Yeah, that early Chicago is awesome, man.
It is. Even the Chicago Transit Authority records are good too.
Yeah. Those first 5 or 6, when I think I put a little post about Chicago that the best Chicago songs are the best Chicago songs are the ones who don't know the name
right
of the song.
I saw that, yeah.
Like
even something like that.
Peter Cetera was an awesome singer. Man, I wish he didn't. I don't want to talk about him right now, but Robert Lamb, I mean, Danny Seraphine, just great musicians, man.
I'm going to go see them at the end of this month.
Last time I saw them with Huey Lewis, and they put on a pretty good show.
I saw that tour.
Yeah.
This time they're on tour with Brian Wilson.
Oh,
really?
That's going to be really cool.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
I didn't think Brian Wilson toured anymore.
Yeah. Sure does.
Oh,
And in fact, he's going to be with Al Jardine,
okay.
the kid from down the street. When he joined the Beach Boys, because he wasn't a family member, they just said the kid from down the street.
Yeah, that was the greatest era in Chicago for me. But I like, even the 80s poppy stuff I like.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because we grew up with that on pop radio, we would hear that in the mornings going to school.
Right.
So yeah, I'm a big Chicago fan. It doesn't remember that. It doesn't mind the era, but their best was that.
Yes.
Of course, when I got older, it was the Horns and Cherry Kath, and man, that was some good stuff. It really was. Chicago 5, that barely missed my list. Al, what is your number 6?
Before I say that,
7.
it's like 7.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bob Rowe. He's in the comments. What's up, Bob?
Oh, Anthony.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Good to see you on there. Hopefully, we'll
my comments off.
get back into the podcast and you as well. So
I think I saw my partner Mark on there too for a second. He's still on there.
I'm on a thing here.
I just see a Facebook user.
That might have been him. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, my number 7. So Jerry, if you thought 3 songs on a Yes album was a kind of a few, we're going Jethro Tull, "Stick As a Brick," which is one song.
It's like 2 songs.
I thought it was all one big song.
It's one song broken up into 2.
Yeah.
See there?
Yep.
1 and 2.
Yep. I just had a copy of that. That album is really cool if you have the actual record album.
Yeah.
It folds out like a newspaper.
It's like a newspaper, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
This is cool. This is I collect a lot of these. These are Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab discs.
Nice, yeah.
So it's I'll open it up here, and it's it comes in a lift lock case.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And it's a gold CD.
Nice.
And they really take a lot of care into mastering their albums and CDs and stuff like that. And it's funny, man, because this goes for a lot of money. But one day I was in Princeton, New Jersey, and there's a great record store there called Princeton Record Exchange, and they have an audiophile section with CDs and stuff, and super audio CDs, DVD audio, things like that.
Yeah.
And this was in the Mobile Fidelity thing. It was only $10, man. And I was like,
wow.
Whoa. Because it normally goes for over $100, man, on on the market, because it's out. They only do limited runs of these, and once they sell out, that's it. They're sold out. But I was like $10, man, and that's like a no-brainer. I got to get it. So, but yeah, "Thick As a Brick," the album itself. I think I read an interview of Ian Anderson where they were calling Aqualung like a progressive rock album or like a concept album, and Ian Anderson tends to think that it's not really a concept album. It kind of has a loose concept. If you really listen to Aqua, it does have kind of a loose concept to it. But he's like, you know what? Since they're calling it a concept album, I'm going to make the ultimate concept album. And he recorded this, and he wasn't wrong. It's a concept album. So, but yeah, man, I love this album, man. It's a great, again, progressive rock in '72 was huge.
It was like 2 parts of 19, 18 minutes a piece, something like that.
Yeah, on here it's like 22 minutes and 21 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
So
they used to play part of that on VH1 in the days a long time ago. They didn't play the whole thing. They played maybe 5 or 6 minutes of it, but
highlight. Yeah.
Well, they have an edited part of it on that they always play on the radio, "Thick As a Brick," which is like a 5-minute, song. But yeah, I mean, 1972, Kate picked the LP. I mean, there's so many progressive rock.
So many, yeah. Coming out of Psych, going into progressive rock. Bands,
yeah, exactly. So that's my number 7, Tull, "Thick As a Brick."
Good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, good pick. That's a really good album.
Yeah.
You know what I like, man, is a lot of us are really picking the same things. Everybody's pretty different.
Yeah.
We're going to run it. We're going to change in a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We always have 4 or 5 that overlap and at least one that everybody will pick.
Yeah.
But then the rest of them are just oddballs. So it's always interesting to hear everybody's choices.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Well, maybe not. I don't know. I'm looking at my list. Maybe not. There's a chance.
We'll see. I feel like we'll have one that everyone has on their list.
Yeah.
So Were you all set, Al? You're done?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Kate. Sorry.
All right. No, you're good. I just want to make sure you're done. Number 7 for me, I went with Machine Head, and I feel like that's going to be the one that everyone picks. 6th studio album. They also had Made in Japan came out this year too, but Machine Head is like, oh, so good. And they, I mean, this is like a 37-minute album that soup to nuts just kicks ass. I know we talked about some of the songs, but like Highway Star and speeding down the street whenever that comes on, it's like, how many people have had speeding tickets when that song came on? Because I had it on in the car earlier because I like to go through these when I pick them out and listen to them again.
Yep.
God damn, that song's so good. And Space Truckin'.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like this has Smoke on the Water, and that's like every single kid learning guitar learns that. It's one of your like classic first songs to learn. Yeah.
And you know, people rag on that song, but it's a great.
There's nothing wrong with it. I don't know. People like to do that where it's like, you know, maybe
it's
more a simple song of theirs and it's really, really popular, but that's like, it's still a great song, and that's a good song as a first song for kids to learn, or, you know, almost anyone who learns guitar, that's their first one. And they did a thing, I don't know what baseball field it was, at some game they did like 3,000 people playing it all at the same time. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but you need to
look up on YouTube. Other songs, like, people doing that,
yeah. I've heard
it. How the hell I saw them do that.
Okay, and I've seen like I think the other one I've seen is like Iron Man or something, you know, that they're playing, but
that's pretty cool how they got the rolls of drums and the bass.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That'll be really, you know, that would be fun to be there for one of those.
That's really cool.
That's just such a killer album. So yeah, definitely had to make the list.
Such an underappreciated band, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, I feel like, especially when it's like, in my mind, there's the split of like psych and progressive rock, and then like metal, and they're kind of in that slot of like not being in a bracket to me, that they can go around that. And then they're just not as popular. Well, I shouldn't say popular. I guess just, not as recognized or like underappreciated. Because that's BOC too. I feel like that's another band that kicks ass and that people don't think about it. Think about how good they are, you know? So definitely underrated in my mind of like mainstream bands from that time.
You're right about that,
Yeah.
And Deep Purple's one of my favorite bands.
So good. Yeah. So good. Good night, Kayla.
Good night, Kayla.
Andy, what's your number 7?
My number 7. My number 7 is going to be. It took me a while to get into this album, and I would play it, and I just didn't get it until one night I played it on a Friday night. This album can only be played at certain times, and it's either Saturday at midnight or Friday at midnight. The Stones, Exile on Main Street.
Dude, that album rules. Tumbling Dice. I mean,
I know, but you just can't hear this album at any time. It's a specific time for this album. And I'm not the biggest Stones fan, but I'm a big fan of this era with Mick Taylor. I think Mick Taylor was their best guitar player. When they were with Mick, with Mick Taylor, he would stretch out the songs to places where there's never another Stones album that sounded like Exile on Main Street.
Surprisingly, there's a lot of different musicians playing on that record. I was surprised when I looked at it. I mean, not everybody played, except for, of course, you know, Mick and Keith played on every song on that record.
Right. So my favorite era of the Stones starts with Beggar's Banquet, and it ends with Goathead Soup. Those albums right there in the middle of that are my favorite. If that's all they did, I would be happy with that. But Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street, it's a double album. which to me personally stretches out a little bit too much. It could have been no, it couldn't have been a single because you don't know what to.
What do you cut out?
Yeah, it's kind of like the White Album. You don't know what to cut out. You really can't.
Yeah.
I mean, it does go together, but man, it starts off so strong, and it's a really good album.
Yeah, Tell 'em Dice is my favorite Stone song. That's why I mentioned that.
Yeah. I was trying to get to
A lot of the 72 list, that's like the top album on them.
yeah, Rock Soft, Rip This Joint, Tumbling Dice, Sweet Virginia,
What's the song about the turd?
Trade.
These
These
about a turd.
songs are just ripping.
Turd on a Run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's got happy with Keith, singing.
Yeah.
happy. Yeah. So that's what I got. It's
Excellent.
Main Street as my number. What was that? 7?
Yep.
Yeah, number 7. Jerry.
Number 6 came out in September '72. Black Sabbath Volume 4. Great record, man. Supernaut, Snowblind.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Under the Sun. What else? Changes.
Laguna Sunrise, St. Vitus
Yeah.
Dance.
I mean, to me, that was the ultimate Sabbath album. That's still my favorite.
Tomorrow's Dream.
Just all 4 of them connected on that album, in my opinion. That's another one I think I should have put a little bit higher, but I think one of you guys will probably have it on there. I'm pretty sure at least one of you.
I think I might.
But
I gotta look again.
Just reminiscent about these albums that come out in '70.
Yeah.
I mean, makes me want to watch Almost Famous. I think I'm going to watch.
We're cutting out a bit, Jerry.
But anyway, that's my number 6. Great record. Great band. Yeah.
And it's just a testament that we're doing 1972, and today, like music of today, I can't even think of 10 badass albums that came out in 2021. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we're coming up with almost 40 different ones.
Yep.
I just don't know what happened. I mean, music just had gotten. I don't want to sound like an old guy that only listens to this type of music because I try. Believe me, I try.
I ended in like 2015. I think that was it for me.
I can't think of a single album title that came out last year.
Oh yeah,
I literally can't think of one album that I'm like, oh, that was awesome.
The best newest band, in my opinion, is Ghost, and that was nothing else to me is compared to them so far in the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's like we're struggling to find something new.
I mean, I started listening to stuff like Imagine Dragons and 21 Pilots, but I just can't get into it, man. I try.
I want to go see Imagine Dragons here in a couple of months.
And they put on a good show.
Yeah,
I saw them. I took my daughter was going through. Kayla was going through a phase where she liked them a lot.
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, I took her to see them, and they did put on a really good show. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I don't really go out and buy their albums, but I took her because she liked them at the time. She's kind of past that now, but there was a lot of young kids at that show. Yeah. So
there's these singers nowadays. I just never heard of Doja Cat or Dua Lipa. I mean,
yeah.
I just can't get into it.
Oh well,
there's one of them. I think her name is Halsey. I kind of like her voice.
Yeah, she's pretty good, man.
But I do try to listen to everything new to give everything a fair chance. But
yeah, I'm waiting for Lizzo's new album to come out. I like Lizzo.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I like her music. But if it wasn't for my wife, because my wife listens to a lot of Alt Nation on XM, so we go see a lot of new alternative rock bands, which is okay, but just that they replaced the lead guitar with keyboards,
Yeah.
But I can't ask for the Pixies still,
Right.
Not much is like the Pixies.
All right, Al. Well, what's going on with you?
So what are we at 6, right?
Yeah.
Genesis Foxtrot. my favorite Genesis album, Watcher of the Skies.
Yep.
Book ended with Supper's Ready.
Woo-hoo.
I mean, dude, that's like the beginning and the ending of an album is like that's two of the greatest songs right there.
Yeah.
You know, Get 'Em Out by Friday is great. You know, I mean, Horizons. I mean, but those two, the beginning and the ending song, is just the pinnacle. And for somebody that wants to get into progressive rock, I usually throw them Genesis because I think they're a little more accessible than throwing them like maybe. I mean, Yes is kind of accessible too, but I think Genesis is a bit more, in my opinion. They never were as big in that era as like Yes here in America, and it wasn't until like later on. I mean, because I grew up on the Phil Collins era Genesis that I went back and discovered. I'm like, wow, Peter Gabriel was in Genesis,
right?
You know? I mean,
he was kind of weird. He was a strange guy back then too.
Yeah. And, I mean, when you look at live footage now, like, I mean, and it wasn't easy to. I had a friend that, you know, I think I touched on this on some other podcast, but big time bootleg collector, and he had VHS tapes and, you know, tapes and stuff. And I remember he pulled out an old Genesis concert from the 70s and showed me it. And then I'm telling you, man, like Gabriel was way ahead of his time. I mean,
he was.
You know, you look at a band like Tool and what Maynard does on stage, he definitely took a cue from Gabriel era Genesis, you know, and I don't know, it's just
speaking of Peter Gabriel, new album in the Dore here is coming.
This is Sawyer, my newest
awesome.
Oh, a kitten. That little nose. Very cute.
Yeah, he's
I will be going to that concert if it comes around Nashville.
What's that?
Peter Gabriel. He's got a new album in the Dore coming out. So.
Yeah.
Is that Tom Sawyer?
Yeah, it's Tom Sawyer. It's Sawyer. That's his name. But it's a newest edition. So say hi.
I can't let my cats in this room because they get into everything.
Yeah. I don't let mine upstairs because all my record stuff.
Anyway, I won't spend too much time on Genesis, but that's my number 6.
You can never spend
Genesis. And in fact, it was on our podcast when we did Yes versus Genesis.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. And Supper's Ready. It's a 23-minute tour de force. Love that
I prefer
album.
the Peter Gabriel era Genesis and the Phil Collins. A lot of people don't agree with me on that one, but I do.
And Phil Collins really kicks ass on the drums, especially on Watcher of the Sky. I mean, man, he kicks ass on the drums for Watcher of the Sky.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah. And what did you say, Jerry? You preferred Gabriel over Collins?
Oh, yes.
Did you?
Well, nowadays I do too. After I discovered that stuff, I'm like, dude, this stuff blows away the concert.
I like Genesis with Phil Collins, and I like Phil Collins solo, but a lot of their songs I couldn't tell you which Genesis and which Phil Collins. And they're all good. They're good.
There's a time in the 80s where it just kind of like you couldn't really differentiate.
Right.
The two.
And they're all good. Don't get me wrong. It's just
But it's interesting with Peter Gabriel. It's a whole different world.
Yeah.
Number six. Leon Russell's Carney. This is another one of my third studio album picks. I love Leon Russell's voice. I just think it's so interesting.
Great
keys player, like New Orleans-y. I love any kind of spooky-ish, like New Orleans music like that. This opens up with Tightrope, and that was probably his biggest hit. I would be safe to say, I think that's probably his biggest, like, well-known hit.
Yeah, it is.
Tightrope's classic, you know. If anyone knows Leon Russell, they know Tightrope, or vice versa. I wanted to read this quote because there was some critic saying something about this album. So it was a excellent introduction into an off-kilter, confused, fascinating album. Consolidates two of his extremes, offering a side of fairly straightforward roots rock before delving headfirst into twisted psychedelica on the second side. And I think that's such a perfect description of this album.
I gotta give that I mean, I've seen it so many times for purchase that I never picked it up. It's the one where like
Yeah,
putting on
there's like a
makeup at
circus
carnival.
behind him, and he has
Yeah.
like white face paint. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the cover exactly. I don't know. I like weird dudes like that, and I like anything that's in the realm of like psychedelic or progressive rock. Especially any kind of New Orleansy theme stuff, which I'm hinting at something later on.
I heard of that one.
Trying to think of what else. I was going to say something else about this. Now I can't remember.
Sorry.
But
Sorry.
that's he had a number 2 hit. That was the other thing I was thinking. That Tightrope was a number 2 hit on like Billboard's top, and that's a pretty weird dude to like top out on Billboard. So I just thought that was interesting that he got to number 2 on there the week it came out.
Yeah, well, during that time he was very I mean, he was wanted as a producer, as a songwriter. He also did his own stuff as well.
He's on so much stuff. Like there's so much stuff that he is on, which is amazing too.
Yeah,
he was on so many other bands
with Joe Cocker. He also played a big role in a concert for Bangladesh with George.
Yep, that's a big one.
Ray Charles covered one of his songs too, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, that what's the name of that song?
Let's see here.
Oh, there's a song of his that's been covered by Ray Charles, Willie Nelson.
Song for You.
A Song for You. Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Yeah, I mean, he wrote Elton John, all kinds of people, man. This guy
he worked like the band and I mean just tons and tons and tons of people. Yeah.
He was always in the middle of everything there in the early 70s.
Yeah.
He really was. I think we're gonna start overlapping soon. Yeah. My number 6 is gonna be Yes. Close to the edge. You know, I'm not gonna get into this that much because, you know, their cover art is just so great. You know, I'm not gonna get too much into it because Al already talked about all 3 songs. So that's gonna be my number 6. Is gonna be Close to the Edge by Yes.
Do you guys remember that Bill Brasky thing on Saturday Night Live? That all Yes album covers are Brasky family photos. Do you guys remember that?
No.
Bill Brasky. I'll send you the clip. Every time you guys say anything about Yes, that's all is in my head.
Like what era was that?
That's like a Chris Farley thing.
Okay.
Like there's a bunch of different Chris Farley skits where they like talk about Bill Brasky a few different times, but I'll send it to you. It's just something silly.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite eras. Was that one with
Yes is so good. Like I like any of those jam bands. It's like Chicago, them, like Supertramp, like that to me.
Yeah,
you can just put it on anytime. It's always good music.
Just let it go. Yeah. Jerry, we're going to the top 5.
All right, yeah, like you said, we're going to be overlapping here. Number 5 is Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust. To me, great Bowie. I mean, frick, what didn't we talk about earlier? The songs on it were awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's my number 5. I don't know what else to add to it. So
it's a classic album, man.
I know he had problems trying to get away from that image or something. I know he had some kind of
I was mentioning that because he didn't want to be stuck in the Ziggy Stardust persona. So that's when the next album drops and it's Aladdin Sane.
Yeah.
So
but
it's interesting. Did you guys ever see that weird The Man Who Fell to Earth?
I never saw it.
Have you ever seen that?
Oh,
you should watch it. It's bizarre. It's such a good Bowie, but that's when I'm always talking about Bowie being an alien, that I'm like, he's just one of those people that's like so different.
Theatrical.
Interesting. Yeah, like he's not from this planet, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
We're just talking about Peter Gabriel. I mean,
just someone, there's certain musicians that you're like, they're not from here. It's like Prince or like I don't know, my brain isn't working great today, but definitely a handful that is like they're from a different planet, like their brain's connected somewhere else. They're so good.
Yeah, and you buy what they're selling. You really do. You know, you feel that it's real. You feel that it's true.
Yeah, no, that's what and I think like I don't know, they're like a celestial being. They're different. Yeah, it is true. It is real though. It's not like a fake thing. It's like
Yeah, it's not some kind of thing to sell tickets. It's
just
no, that's them.
Live back then would be incredible, you know.
Oh man,
I'm just super old by now, but you know, just to, if I can go back in time for a few weeks and see some of these shows.
Oh
yeah. Any of the acts we've talked about, imagine seeing them on the tour for one of these albums. Like
right, yeah, to see Sabbath with 4 and to see Made in Japan, you know.
Oh man,
Nobody's death was the first rock star's death where I realized that shit, these people are getting old. They're all going to start dying now.
And that one was such a like him leaving us with Black Star and that Black like Star. It's
there's some good stuff on that album.
Some of them it's like he knew he was going to be gone, and he like leaves this gift album. You know, it's just so wild. Yeah.
Did he pass away like 2 days after the album's release or something?
Drop, yeah.
It was very close, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't. Wow, yeah.
I never knew he was sick or anything. I was news to me when he died. I never.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he was trying to keep it pretty private, like a lot of
he really did.
A lot of people with cancer like that they are keeping it private, and then.
And that's a hard thing to do with today's media, man. It really
I know. Could you imagine? Because that was like Lemmy being sick and dying, and like we saw Lemmy in September, and then he died in December. I saw him. So, and you would never know he was sick. He's like dying of liver cancer. And Bowie, in like the last handful of interviews and things that he does and last shows that he played, like, I don't know, he was good at hiding that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're professionals.
Yeah.
Al, what's your number 5?
Smoking by Humble Pie. Great album. Steve Marriott's one of my favorite singers of all time. Fucking 30 Days in the Hole. This is the first album without Peter Frampton. So you got Clem Clemson coming in on guitar. And he's phenomenal as well, man. He fills his shoes very well. Hot and Nasty. Way to start off an album. To Fixer, come on everybody. You're So Good to Me. They do a cover of Roadrunner on here. Sweet Peace and Time. I mean, the whole album is just freaking classic, man. It's like I came into Humble Pie late in my life, and I was like, why didn't I not discover this band when I was younger? But when you're younger, you're kind of into the bands of the time. You don't. I mean, to us when we were in high school in the 80s, the 70s stuff was that's old shit. Except maybe it was Sabbath or Zeppelin. But as you get older, obviously you mature and you start discovering more stuff. But yeah, man, discovering Humble Pie with the live album before this, Rockin' the Fillmore, which to me is like one of the greatest live albums of all time. But then, man, they came out with this studio album, which was just every bit as strong. And Frampton leaving didn't really hurt him, to be honest with you, man. I mean, it was really, really a great album. So Clem Clemson's great in his own right. So, and last time I saw Peter Frampton, he did live. I saw him at Madison Square Garden, and it had supposedly it's his farewell. It was his farewell tour because he has does he have
Parkinson's?
No, I think it's not. Is it Parkinson's?
No, I think it's
MS maybe or something like that. It's something. I don't know if it's Lou. I don't know if it's Lou Gehrig's or I don't know. It's something that's hindering. It's something. So
movement.
Yeah. So he was saying that's the last time he's going to tour. So I caught him at the Garden, which was great. Had Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin experience opening up, which was cool.
Oh, cool.
And man, he did like some great Humble Pie stuff. Yeah. Obviously, this is not his era, but he was doing stuff off of Rockin' the Fillmore, like 3 Day Creep and stuff like that. So I mean, it was awesome. But for as a studio album, this album, man, is great. And I advise anybody who doesn't have any humble pie to pick this up. 30 Days in the Hole is obviously the classic you probably hear on the radio, but as an album as a whole is great.
Yeah, I saw him Styx, and I think Nelson opened up for him.
Wow,
he was really good live. I mean,
I think Frampton's very underrated as a guitar player.
Yeah.
I mean, he smokes, man. He's awesome. But Clem Thompson on this album, man, he's kicks ass too.
Best live albums ever.
Yeah. So that's my number 5.
You know, I've never given Humble Pie a try, but since you've already talked about 2 albums that you really like, that's something that I need to look into because I like Peter Frampton. I don't have Peter Frampton Comes Alive or nothing like that, but
you can find it real easily.
Yeah.
I probably have one.
I bought it like 20 times. I just never have.
Yeah.
I probably have one I can give you. I have so many things like that.
Yeah.
So,
I think I have like 2 copies on vinyl as well.
Yeah. Let me look. I might have a copy of Smokin'. If I have one, I'll give it to you. I probably do. I don't know. I'll look, but it's a good one. Yeah.
So Kate, go ahead. You got
Yeah.
your number 5.
Oh boy, number 5. So I told Andy this earlier that I didn't realize this was a soundtrack. But I'm like, it's still worth it. It's still a really good album. It's Jimmy Cliff, Harder They Come.
Oh, nice.
I am such a huge reggae and rock steady and like dancehall kind of music fan. This came out in the UK in 72 and then 73 in the US. I'm still counting it because it came out in 72.
Oh, yeah.
The soundtrack is for a movie by the same title, The Harder They Come, and it was a Jamaican crime film. But the big thing that I thought about this album is that it's like bringing reggae and rocksteady more into the mainstream, like especially into the US. That wasn't a big thing until then, and then this hit, and it was like such a big deal to bring any of that music and a bunch of different great bands. That Jimmy Cliff is like the title guy on that, but then there's Toots and the Maytals, and there's like the Melodians is another one that they never got big, but probably you guys know Desmond Decker. If you think of Desmond Decker, has that song The Israelites, and they use that in a bunch of movies and different shows. But this one starts out with like You Can Get It If You Really Want. That's a jam. River of Babylon. What else?
River of Babylon?
Yeah. And then Many Rivers to Cross, which is like Harry Nilsson hit, but it's on here as Jimmy Cliff doing it. So it's a good one to check out.
That Rivers of Babylon song.
Yeah. Sublime covers that.
Sublime covers it,
yeah. I'm trying to think who else covers that, but that's the one that I think of offhand immediately is that Sublime covers that.
Yeah.
Who else does that? I can't think of who it is, but you can do. There's The Harder They Come, which is like one of Jimmy Cliff's big hits, and he actually recorded that for this specifically. What else is on here? Trying to think, but the Rivers of Babylon one's such a good Sublime jam too. That's like a slow burn Sublime. Yeah.
And then Bradley Noel, after he passed away, they had released an acoustic set of his.
Yeah, that's such good. That Stand By Your Van is awesome, and that's a whole ton of different acoustic.
Yeah.
If you go to what is that? The Hard Rock in Vegas has one of his guitars and has one of his songbooks, so it's like open to Badfish when you go to look at the stuff. So it's his guitar, and then his songbook is open to his like scribbles about writing Badfish. So that was the cool thing to see. And I didn't even know that was there. We just happened to be in there like looking at all the stuff and then walk across that. And it's like, holy smokes. It's such a cool thing for them to have. The other thing I was going to mention, this one ended up hitting, there's like they just did one, but I listened to this 500 podcast, and it's Josh Adam Myers, and the podcast is called The 500, and he's a comedian that's doing the 2012 Rolling Stones top 500 albums of all time, which they did put one out in 2020, but he's doing the 2012 list, and this one's 122 out of 500. So, like, so for a reggae album and a soundtrack album to be that high on a list of best albums by their ranking, that's pretty cool, I thought. So
Yeah,
something that I was thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah, to hear the original version of Babylon, that'd be interesting to check that out.
Yeah. And then this is like an album that the Library of Congress saved as one of their like national recording registry.
Yeah.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, there's actually a couple of my picks are on there, which is funny. But I was like, wow, that's pretty intense. That's a big honor if you think about it, that they don't pick all that much stuff, and then this is
it's very rare that you hear about those
it's
recordings.
culturally, what is it? It's like culturally, artistically, or something. I can't remember what the other thing is, but the significance of why they pick it and put it in there.
Yeah, but just the prestigiousness of it.
Yeah,
you know, because you really don't hear that title being thrown around very often.
Yeah, but you can go ahead, Andy. What's your number 5?
Number 5. Oh, I just noticed that. Sabbath 4.
Oh yeah.
You know, we talked about this. Sabbath 4 is a fantastic set of songs. Wheels of Confusion, Snowblind, Changes. It's just a great album. There's the back of it, right?
There's this little damn bug.
Just great stuff, man. And it's like this one was actually recorded when they moved to LA and they were living in a big mansion. And I was reading that part of Ozzy's book that this was just one big
Coke
party. Yeah. It was just
that's their Coke album.
Coke and just whatever the hell they wanted to do. They owned the world. They didn't care.
Yeah.
But for Sabbath.
All 4 of them are still alive is amazing.
All right.
Out of all the bands to still have all the people alive.
Yeah, and to just you know, what they did, what they went through, and still be at it. It's just amazing. Jerry, what's your number 4?
The Blue Oyster Cult. We talked about that one earlier.
Oh wow, pretty high.
You know, the great debut album. I'm on the land, but I ain't no sheep. Clever names for their songs too. They really are. You know, Cities on the Flame with rock and roll. Stairway to the Stars.
Yeah, it's a great debut, man.
They had a redo of that CD in the early 2000s. I can't remember what. It's got like 4 or 5 live tracks from 1969, man.
Oh, wow.
Tits on. Sorry about the expression. It was just amazing sounding live. If you ever get a chance to hear those songs, I recommend it, man. Really, really good stuff.
I look for that.
But that's my number 5. Or 4, excuse me.
All right, my number 4 is going to be. I don't have the actual vinyl cover for it, but I have the vinyl album. It's Allman Brothers Eat a Peach.
Oh yeah.
I mean Mountain Jam alone on here. It's like 33 fucking minutes, man, of just pure, unadulterated jam, dude. I mean, just kicks ass, man. I'm a big Allman Brothers fan. I love them. I saw them all the time when they used to do their March Madness here at the Beacon Theater in New York. You know, and like I said in a different podcast, I got to sit on stage with them when they played, and to me that was the pinnacle of seeing a band. Like you actually, like I'm sitting there, like, fucking Warren Haynes is right there, Greg Allman's right there. Like they told me before, like, you know, the concert. You absolutely no way during the concert can you get up out of your seat to go take a piss. So you better not. So you better take your piss now. You better not drink. And me and my friend, we only had like 1 beer. But before that, we didn't indulge in drinking anything because I wasn't ruining that concert experience. And but shit, man, Eat a Peach, which is great, man. It's half live, half studio.
Yeah, and that's a band that's hardly got anybody alive left in it. I think Dickie's alive still.
Who?
Dickie Betts is alive.
That's it, Dickie and
Jerome.
What's that?
The drummer died recently, I thought, or did he die a while ago?
Well, Butch Trucks is gone, but J-Mo is still alive.
J-Mo,
yeah. So really, it's just them two, really, the original.
From the original.
But Eat a Peach, man, I love that album. I love the Allman Brothers Band. They're my favorite. They're my favorite Southern rock band, if you're gonna call them Southern rock. I don't really consider them Southern rock.
No. They're just an American rock band.
It's a rock band, but they kind of spearheaded that whole scene of the South.
Oh, that sound
bands and stuff. To me, they're like king of the world. They're king of the heap, top of the heap, as far as those bands are concerned. So, it was great, man. I mean, every show you see is a different show. I mean, just you never get the same thing. And certain bands are that's just the way it is. The jam
and the jam sessions were freaking awesome, dude.
Yeah, they were, man.
They're magic.
They're on the spot. They weren't rehearsed. A lot of it was just on the moment playing.
Yeah.
So
it takes talent, man. It's just for them. I mean, a lot of people, consider the Grateful Dead the ultimate jam band, but they went off on tangents where it didn't make sense. And
it didn't make sense.
They were so fucked up, and it's a train wreck, man. But I mean, I don't know. Allman Brothers Band, man, they always just seem to just let it flow, man. Like where it went, and took you on a journey, So,
it's like Mountain Jam
and Mountain Jam, bro. That's the pinnacle right there. So that's my number 4. I won't dwell on that anymore. Kate, go ahead.
But how many times can we? I'm sorry, Kate. How many
You're
times?
fine.
I mean, how many times can we hear in memory of Elizabeth Reed and we love it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done now.
Or Melissa.
Melissa is the one I was gonna say.
I love Melissa.
Yeah. Well, and
Blue Sky
for classic rock radio to play instrumentals is rare.
Yeah, like when they do Jessica.
Almost always Allman Brothers instrumentals. Yeah, it's always Jessica. But
except for Frankenstein by Edgar Winter.
Yep, Frankenstein by Edgar Winter. Yep.
Frankenstein. That's such a great song.
That is a jam.
Oh my God, Edgar Winter's another another one.
Enigma. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So my number 4 is gonna be Bowie.
Yep.
I mean, it's just so damn good. I love
Bowie.
Bowie.
So far. Come on, Andy, you're the only one left.
Right. He might have it. Maybe it'll close out. I think I have a good guess what Andy's number 1 is. But this one, you guys talked about it. Like Moonage Daydream, Starman, that stuff's on here. Ziggy Stardust is on here. Suffragette City is on here. And I love this thing when you have the actual album that it says that it's supposed to be played at maximum volume.
Yeah.
It says to be played at maximum volume.
Yeah.
The cover is interesting because the photograph was taken in monochrome film, and then it's hand painted when it's recolorized. So this is really interesting to me, thinking about film and the way it looks, that it's not really edited. It's the fact that someone had painted it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool to me.
Never gonna unsee the Kanye West thing now.
I know, that was funny. Well, and I looked in the album cover.
I'm sorry, man.
Photographed in monochrome and recolored. It was taken in London outside of the home of the furriers K West. So someone who, supplied fur coats and different stuff. So that's what the K West is. Yeah. But the Kanye. So it's like Kanye helping out Paul McCartney, like some old unknown old dude that he helped out Bowie too.
Yeah. K West.
Yeah, I'm gonna think about that always now.
I'm just trying to think.
I'm sorry, man. I should never.
That was funny though. I don't care. It's funny. Yeah. It's like
Damn it.
I don't know. I just think that's such a cool random cover that it's in this factory setting.
Yeah.
And the old style lamp that's above him and that, and then he's kind of in the shadows, just hanging out by himself with his guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the back of the album, it's his whole body.
He's in a phone booth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
people
did you
now,
know-
like, they wouldn't know what a phone booth like that is.
Yeah.
It was like literally the last phone booth in New York was removed, like, what, last week or something?
Last week, yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny to think about a cover like that, and he's in an old phone booth, and kids would be like, what the hell is a phone booth?
They're not.
People don't realize his name is
they're-
Davy Jones. In real life.
I don't think they're. Well, of course they're not used, but there's 2 phone booths here in Houston
Yeah.
that look exactly like that with a red.
The wood.
Yeah.
I've seen some old bars that still have them. Like
Yeah.
there's a couple old school bars that still have the like door works, and
The
there's a
door
little
work.
table in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Man, I remember when I was a teenager, a payphone was like the greatest thing. You know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
the cigarette machine was the best thing for me.
Yeah.
Man. I mean,
The what machine?
The
Cigarette
cigarette machine.
Oh yes, at the bowling
it's
alley.
amazing, you know.
It
Yeah.
was like $2 with quarters.
There's
Yeah.
some like cool dive bars in Detroit that still have working old school ones with like the
Yeah.
pole thing and that.
Yeah.
So it's
They're
funny
all
that they
soft
keep them
packs.
going.
As
Yeah.
far as I remember, soft packs.
Yep.
Let me see, number 4, right?
Yeah, you're number 4, Andy.
Deep Purple Machine Head is
All
my
right,
number
all right.
4.
I
There
had
you
a
go.
feeling we
Yeah.
all would have it.
Yeah, it's going to come out, of course.
That should have been
Come on.
higher on my list. I wish I could put that up higher.
I'm a big Deep Purple fan. Like I said, Mark II is my favorite version. Mark 1 is my second favorite. I really like that early psychedelic. Didn't really know which way they were going to go, you know. And then they come out with, and then Ian Gillan joins them. And this is not my favorite Deep Purple. I prefer and Rock by Deep Purple because I love Child in Time. That's my favorite Deep Purple song, bar none. Love Child in Time. But this is my favorite version is with Ian Gillan. I think he had the great voice for them. He was a perfect fit.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I do like David Coverdale and I do like Whitesnake. I just couldn't get into the albums he did with Deep Purple. You know, it wasn't as heavy that they were getting into a little bit more blues rock at the time and
funky.
Yeah, and I was like, really? Because I really like Who Do We Think We Are, which is the album after Deep Purple and the last one they did with Ian Gillan. And I like that album too. I like the way that that John Lord and Richie Blackmore really go at it, you know, where they share room for their solos and they answer each other. I think that there's no other keyboard lead guitar player that does that. You know, it really steps out Deep Purple because if you think about it also with Zeppelin, you know, John Paul Jones, when he played keyboards, it was more of an atmosphere background to give the mood. John Lord used it as a lead instrument and he did solos on it. And then the guitar would come in and Ian Pace is a monster on his drum kit. I've only seen them once. No, I've seen them twice. The first time I saw them was with Scorpions and somebody else. I forgot who the other band was, but I didn't care for Deep Purple at the time. You know, I was like, you know, smoke on the water, big deal. And then I was in New York. The first time I went to New York was on my honeymoon, and I went to a record store in Greenwich Village, and I couldn't find anything to buy because I always have to buy an album when I'm on vacation. So I bought Stormbringer, and I was like, wow, are you kidding me? And little did I know that Stormbringer would go lower on my list of Deep Purple, where I kept on hearing more and more. And ever since then, I think I have over 20 Deep Purple albums. I pick up a compilation or anything that says Deep Purple. I'm a big fan, and I think they are one of my favorite bands. And I was able
live.
Oh yeah, I was so glad that I was able to see them, and I was able to see them with Alice Cooper.
Oh, nice.
Alice Cooper did the Paranormal tour.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw him 2019, right before the pandemic, so it had to be 19 with Judas Priest.
I saw that tour too.
Yeah,
that was a great tour.
Yeah.
I think I saw them for the Swoosh album, and they came out with a covers album, the first covers album. I think it was released like last summer, and it's really good. They do a really good job. I know that Richard Blackmore is not with them anymore, but what's his name?
Steve Morse.
Steve Morse does a great job with him too. I got several stuff of his with the Dixie Dregs as well. So yeah, I'm a Deep Purple all the way. So that's my number 4. I guess if I said Deep Purple all the way, they'd be number 1. But
yeah, I love a lot of incarnations of Deep Purple. I love Perfect Strangers. I thought that was a great record.
Yeah.
You know.
Especially side 2, because side 2 was more of their classic sound.
Yeah.
On the Perfect Strangers.
Yeah.
I thought side 1 was a little bit too rainbowy, but side 2 is really classic Purple. Love it. Jerry, number 3. Wow.
Number 3 is Eagles' debut. I mean, love that band. I mean, songs like Take It Easy, Peaceful, Easy Feeling, What You Want. And Birdie Lena had this song called Early Bird. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's a great freaking tune. I mean, it's just not a day you can't go on classic rock radio. You won't hear one of those songs. I mean,
that's a lot of their hits are on that album. Yeah,
it's an incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, the first band. They were probably the first band that could. Well, I don't know. Talking about harmonies. I mean, their singing together is just still today unmatched, in my opinion. Maybe like the Little River Band, they had some good harmonies in their days, but man, as far as harmonies, the Eagles, are top notch. Yeah. Even with the lineup they got today, with I think Glenn Fry's son quit, I think, but
yeah, he did.
He got Vince Gill. He fits in perfectly with them, man.
Yeah, he really does. I never thought that he would, but he does fit in perfect.
I would love for them to bring Don Felder back. I mean, I don't know why they won't bring him back now that Glenn Fry is gone, but because I think that's the only problem they had was with,
Yeah.
But I would still go see them if their prices, they charge too much for a ticket.
Yeah.
They're ridiculous.
Yeah, too much.
But
I was able to see them for the Hell Freezes Over tour back in, I guess it would have been 96, 97.
Yeah, around that time. Yeah.
Around there, man, I was all about the Eagles there because that Greatest Hits Volume 1, it's just fantastic. And I really love their the Desperado album, the whole album, because I love that song Saturday Night.
Did I hear recently that was the most bought record? Their Greatest Hits.
It is one of the highest selling albums.
Yeah, I think it was number 1 for a while. I don't know if it is anymore,
but I think it's the most selling compilation.
Yeah, it's just amazing, dude. I mean, how huge that band is still. I mean, people will shell out $500 for a ticket. I wish I could do that.
I wish I could too, but I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you can get the money, do it. I guess I don't know, but it's like I don't think they're hurting for the money, but
Yeah, I wish they were a little bit more accessible to fans.
And they're a little stingy when it comes to copyright too, but that's their music,
Yeah, they can do what they want.
But anyway, that's my number 3. I mean, that's not even the best Eagles album, but
I still love Hotel California.
Some people prefer the pre Joe Walsh Eagles though.
Yeah.
I see some people online like they say when Joe Walsh came in, it wasn't the same. I mean, I love both eras. I like the early Burn leading stuff too, which is really great, man. I mean, I like that album.
Part of the Eagles, man, is Bernie Leadon, man. A lot of people don't appreciate his stuff, the early stuff. Yeah. Randy Meisner too. I mean,
Randy Meisner, yeah, that early stuff's great.
Yeah. Oh well, it was a switch. Oh well, it was a switch in genres pretty much compared Hotel California to One of These Nights or to Desperado, which was like country rock.
More of a country rock to rock,
Yeah, it was that LA sound at that time.
And it worked. I mean, they can't do anything wrong, so.
And their songwriting was great as well.
I mean, even their solo albums are just amazing. I mean, Don Henley's "End of the Innocence," man. That album just still blows my mind away. It's how great that album is.
It really is. Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to talk about it too much, but that's my number 3.
Al, your number 3?
Stones, Exile. I'm not gonna dwell too much on it. You guys covered it. Rocks off and rip this joint. What a 1-2 punch to just start the album off. Happy is one of my favorite Keith songs. Love that song. I've always have. Tumbling Dice is a classic. Sweet Virginia. All down the line. And I mean, there's a reason why some, there's always these bands that have like these albums, and sometimes people call them, that's their Exile on Main Street. You know what I mean? It's a classic, man. It's, they were probably at the peak of their addictions.
Yeah.
But it didn't hinder at that time. It didn't hinder their creativity.
Nope. Not at all.
One bit. I mean, you always see the classic picture of like Keith, with the guitar just kind of sleeping in the seat, slumped over, and and I'm sure they worked like 24 hours a day, and cocaine probably like kept him awake, and whatever, smack, and Keith loved to smack at the time.
Dude, talking about somebody I have to be stuck in an elevator with for a day, man. Hearing him his stories, man, would just be freaking awesome.
And how, you talk about like, how Black Sabbath's still alive. How the fuck is Keith Richards still alive?
No shit.
So, but that's my number 3. I'm not going to dwell too much on it, take too much time. But Stones, man, Exile.
Yeah.
You know what just popped into my head about that album? That was in 72, Exile on Main Street. And in 73, Aerosmith came out. Man, Aerosmith just got their inspiration off of Exile on Main Street.
Yeah.
I
can see that definitely.
Like the riffs, the vocal, not the vocal, but like the vocal attitude.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, Keith and Mick, and then you had Steven Tyler and Joe Perry.
That's what they wanted to be. They wanted to be Keith. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always considered Aerosmith kind of a hybrid of the Stones and Zeppelin. To me, if the Stones and Zeppelin had a kid, it was Aerosmith. So, to me, that's what they are,
And for me, Aerosmith stayed very successful for a very long time, in my opinion. To me,
yeah, they had 2 lives, man.
Yeah, they really did.
Tyler, man, he can still bring it, man. He still can sing.
Unfortunately, I hope he gets better. He's in rehab now. He fell off the wagon. Hopefully, he gets better and gets back on the road.
Well, listen, man, he admitted it, and
first thing you do is admit you have a problem.
Yeah. And then go get help. So good for him.
Kate, go ahead.
Yep, Kate, number 3.
So, I forgot something about that Bowie. That Bowie's the other one on the National Recording Registry.
Okay, is it?
I forgot to mention that, but I'm like, I had 2 that I picked that randomly they were on there. So that's the other one is Bowie.
The only other one I know is Blizzard of Oz by Ozzy. That's the only other one I know.
I want to look up the list now that I thought about it, because I was just randomly reading about those albums and seeing
that. Could be another topic.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun show. Yeah.
That could be another topic.
Yeah, because it's interesting how they.
Yeah, it is.
So my number 3, I went with Jim Croce. That was the top of Andy's. So I absolutely adore Jim Croce. Andy already talked about his death a little bit. This is another one of my 3rd studio album picks. 3rd of 5 albums. And then this one was getting at number 68 on Billboards. So that's pretty good for like a folk singer-songwriter to be higher up on that.
That still amazes me. Like I only had 2 albums.
Yeah, his first 3.
Well, it said it was the 3rd of 5 studio albums.
Yeah, he did 2 with his wife.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then the big one that everybody knows, I think, is like Photographs and Memories, and that one's a comp. So that one's not even a studio. Yeah.
Yeah, because he made 2 albums that weren't that highly regarded
Yeah.
with his wife Ingrid.
Yeah, and then the 3 of his own.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's another dude. I don't know. I'm big on the singer-songwriter guys, and that's Jim Croce. He's such a good storyteller,
Yeah.
and that's one dude that I dig a good ballad from.
Bad Leroy Brown. That was him, wasn't it?
That song's a jam. That's not on here, but that's a Croce. Yeah. This one kicks off with "You Don't Mess Around with Jim." So, and I like the pop culture references in that song, and just kind of a fun, goofy song to start off an album with, and it's the title track. And then "New York's Not My Home."
Oh, that song.
It's so good, yeah. "Photographs and Memories," "Walking Back to Georgia's" on here. "Operator," which, like, what an amazing.
I know these songs, and they're really
what
good
an amazing, like, depressing but phenomenal song, you know. "Time in a Bottle."
Yeah, that's a great song.
Yeah.
Such a good
And
song.
his performance, I mean, his voice just makes you believe every word.
I know. He's so sincere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's such a sincere, you feel it, you know he means it. Like, and then he's fun too, that he's like, he has these really serious and beautiful and meaningful
And the Derby
songs.
Girl, and
Yeah, then he has, like, you know, Rapid Roy and "You Don't Mess Around with Jim," and like that Bad Leroy Brown's not on here, but he has all these other songs that are like fun, catchy songs. You know, you hear it and it's in your head all day. You can pick it up and hold on to it all day.
See, performers back then, you know, they were naked, just them and the microphone.
Yeah, well, it's just him and a guitar, and he's like this little goofy mustachioed dude, you know.
You kind of have a fro too in a little way.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he had really, really curly dark hair. Yeah, yeah.
Nowadays, you got, you know, what's that thing? You got sound backing vocals recorded. You got
well, and then they're auto-tuned, and and him, it's just him and a guitar, and the voice that comes out of him to me is like surprising. It doesn't match him. So I'd heard him before, and then when I saw him, I was like, "What? That's Jim Croce? Like, that's his voice?" But
he looks older than what he was.
He looks so much older than he is, because it's thinking of, like, he's only 30 when he died, and he looked like he's like 45 or 50. You know, he's looked a lot older. But he's another one of those old soul dudes that, like, he put out his first album when he was really young.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, you know, if he's killed in an accident, but it's just funny to think of how much stuff he got done and how long those songs have stood the test of time. That, you know, that you still hear him on the radio all the time, and he's just phenomenal. It's just another person that I really enjoy. He's on probably every single playlist I have.
Yeah, he always finds his way into my playlist as well.
Yeah, whenever I do the Spotify ones, man, he's always on them.
If you ever watch any of these singing competitions, "Time in a Bottle" is always on one of those.
Oh, really? Huh.
It was all over American Idol. Everybody did that.
Yeah, weird. I would never guess that, because it's such a random, you know, 1972 track. That's
but it was a #1 hit.
Yeah.
Same time. Time in a Bottle.
So good. It's covered a lot for sure. Yeah, I never thought about one of those singing competitions to have it be featured.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. That's interesting. All right, Mr. Andy, what's your number 3?
My number 3, it's going to be Neil Young Harvest as my number 3. The reason why it's not number 1,
I was thinking it'd be number 1.
Yeah,
the songs, "There Is a World," too much orchestra for me with Jack Nitsky, and the same thing with "A Man Needs a Maid." Same thing. It's got too much orchestra. And when I've got different recordings of that with just him with a guitar and harmonica doing "A Man Needs a Maid," and in fact, that's where the title of the song used to be, "A Man Is Afraid." And at first, I always thought that song was very misogynistic. I probably didn't pronounce that word wrong. But then I read his book, and he had back surgery during the time of Harvest. So he was laid up in his beach house. And a lot of hangers on would just come, party out, and do whatever they wanted. And he was laid up in bed, and they would take off. They would do this like for a month. And then one day, man, you know what? I really need a damn maid because I can't clean shit. People just come in and use my beach house and take off. So that's what the song is really about. I don't want to say I want to put this higher because the two albums that I put higher are better than Harvest. Harvest is not my favorite Neil Young album. It's not even my favorite of the 70s of his. But I'll go through the songs on here. Out on the Weekend, the first time I ever saw Neil, he started off with that song. So I've always liked that song. Harvest, which is the title track. This album also has Heart of Gold, Old Man, but also has the song Alabama on here, which goes hand in hand with Southern Man, which, you know, he later apologized because Leonard Skinner took offense to it. Leonard Skinner took offense to it because they wanted to tell Neil, you know, we all don't think like that, because this was Neil's answer at George Wallace. Was George Wallace win governor, or was he just running for governor?
I think he was running. That's before he got shot.
Yeah. And
I have to watch Forrest Gump again. That's how I know about it.
Right. But that he had a lot of still wanting separation in schools, you know, and Neil Young was saying, how can y'all still think that way? And this guy and George Wallace had a very strong hold of almost winning. But then Leonard Skinner was saying, hey, we all don't think like that. Because no matter where they took Leonard Skinner after the death of Ronnie Van Zant, they might have taken him to a Republican side. But when Leonard Skinner started, they were very liberal, in their thinking and in their songs. And somewhere down the road, that conception of Leonard Skinner changed after the death of the original members, and they lost what Leonard Skinner was really about. But Harvest is my number 3.
All right. My number 2 is Pink Floyd, Obscured by Cloud. We talked about that one earlier.
Oh, wow.
It was the album that is getting the Pink Floyd sound. It's when all 4 of them were just getting together. They all wrote together, and they sounded great. It was a lot more. That album was more acoustic than, let's say, Dark Side, but it still kicked ass. I mean, you said Free For It, a great song. Burning Bridges, Childhood's End. Like I said, one of Gilmore's great and one of only a momentary lapse of reason lyrics. I never knew until a couple of years ago. You mentioned it earlier. I didn't. It was actually a soundtrack. I never knew. I mean, I know that he had a soundtrack for the album More.
Yeah.
Which I have no idea what that is. I've tried looking for that forever to see what it's about, and I can't find it anywhere.
Oh, it's good, man. It's really good.
Is it? I can't. If I can get a hold of a copy of that, I want to see it. The movie. I mean.
Oh wait. Were you talking about the movie or the album?
Yeah, the movie actually.
Oh! I have no idea about the movie.
I'm just so curious of what it's like. It must suck, or it would be out everywhere. But
yeah, I think it was like a French movie.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So was this one too.
Was it?
Yeah, La Vallée or whatever, something like the Valley, something like that. That was this album, Obscured by Clouds.
With Metal and Obscured by Clouds, you can just tell that, you know, they were just starting their groove, man. The best was yet to come, and man, that was true. The best did come. Anyway, that's my number 2.
My 2 is Purple, Machine Head.
All right.
Like everybody's already touched on it. I think everybody picked this, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's my number 2 though, because I listen to this album. It's one of my favorite, you know, heavy rock albums of that time. Mm-hmm. I love Maybe I'm a Leo and Pictures of Home. Those are probably my 2 favorite tracks on there that are not the hits, you know. When a Blind Man Cries is a great B-side, which is included on this disc. This is actually a DVD audio disc.
Oh, okay.
So what this is I talked about this on an earlier podcast. It's a surround sound version of the album. So if you have a surround sound setup, you can play this and you'll hear a nice, fresh, new perspective of the album. It's like hearing. I mean, if you heard it 1,000 times, it's like hearing it for the first time again because you're going to hear stuff.
Man. I
Check that out. So you're going to hear stuff that you never, Dark Side of the Moon is a must-have if you have a surround sound.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You need to get a surround sound version of that album. But this one is really cool, man. You got like John Lord's, organ like swirling behind your head and intertwined with Blackmore and Ian Pace is a monster. I think Ian Pace in the pantheon of drummers is right up there with Bonham and Bill Ward and stuff like that.
Yeah, he is.
So he's a monster, and I've seen Deep Purple live a few times, and they still. Is Ian Gillan the singer he was in '72? No, but he's not going to sing "Child of Time." But still, they deliver the goods. They're still great for their age. Yeah. I give them a pass. So but they still, shit, man, they still rock, man.
Yeah,
and they're in their 70s. They're well into their 70s, man. So
it's one band I've never seen live, man.
Yeah, I saw them quite a few times. I saw them. It's funny, man. I saw them probably like a decade ago, and they were touring with an orchestra, which is really cool. They had an orchestra behind them, and that was kind of a cool way to hear some of their songs. Some of their songs really lend themselves well to like an orchestral arrangement. So definitely, with that classical, they had that classical element to them, So, but yeah, number 2 is Purple, Machine Head, classic. That's one of those albums that's like, if you don't have any Deep Purple, that's the one album by them you do have.
Yeah, you should have it.
Yeah.
I got this Concerto.
Oh yeah.
From them.
Oh, that's a good one.
Really, yeah. It's a kick-ass album.
There's also a surround sound version of that one too.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, this is good stuff. Deep Purple is very underrated. They really are.
They are.
All the years that
they're huge all around the world except here in America.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing that other countries love them so much, and we're just
same thing with Thin Lizzy, man.
That's another one. Yeah, they're definitely very underrated too.
So that's my 2. I'm gonna Purple. Go ahead, Kate.
My number 2 is gonna be this Nick Drake Pink Moon.
Ooh.
Very short, very bizarre. This is a funny one that wasn't really popular in the US until Pink Moon was featured in a Volkswagen commercial, which is a super bummer that no one really paid attention to this album until 1999 because of a Volkswagen commercial. Because I was just looking up the stat. I couldn't remember, but it was 6,000 albums have been sold prior to 99. That song, Pink Moon, the title track, is featured in a Volkswagen commercial. 74,000 albums are sold by 2000. What? So people are really missing out on that one in my mind. This is Nick Drake's 3rd and final album. I don't know if you guys know that he's a big sufferer of depression, and he took his own life in 1974, and he was only 26 years old when that happened. This was the only studio release he had that came out in the US during his life. So it's interesting. There's no backing band on this. Podcast that I was talking about gets into some heavy stuff, that 500 podcast. I don't know if you guys want to listen to other music podcasts, but the 500 with Josh Adam Myers covers this, and it's number 321 out of 500. And the other, he usually has another comedian on with him, and the other comedian that's on with him in that episode is Duncan Trussell, who's this really bizarre, gets into crazy spiritual theology. Most of it's drug fueled, but he gets really deep, and they have
that stuff usually is.
Yeah, and he has this really deep interesting conversation because a lot of musicians, like a lot of comedians, suffer from very bad depression and drug abuse and different things. And that's like this time, at the time this album was coming out, they had tried to have Nick Drake on antidepressants, and he was a big pot smoker. So there's like his big concern with being on any antidepressants was having any issues or like counter interactions with pot. And thinking back at that time of people being put on antidepressants in the 70s, and they're like brand new drugs. Most of it was probably like super heavy duty lithium, things like that. That's how they controlled psychosis, because depression's treated as psychosis then. So just thinking about it, it's like this album, you can feel that mood of this is like a lot of his, it's really mellow, a little bit psych, but more down. And people always think that like Pink Moon is like this happy-go-lucky song because it was in a Volkswagen commercial.
Yeah.
But you have to listen to this whole album and you're like, holy shit, it's pretty intense when you realize after that he commits suicide. But still, I think a beautiful album. It's not even a half hour long, very short. All the songs are less than 3 minutes long. But that's one, I've always loved this, and I finally got it and listened to it. How this is like a 50th anniversary remaster copy, and it's just stunning album. I highly recommend it.
I've seen it on lists and people talking about it, and I've read about it in publications, but I've never heard it.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's
I
don't know, the cover is so bizarre. I think it like detracts a lot of people from it because it's really weird. But that's the back of it, and then there's a cool gatefold that it has this like negative picture of him in there. I don't know, it's worth a listen, definitely, if you've never heard it. And it's a short one that it's literally not even a whole half hour long.
I could probably hear it on the way to work.
It's a good one to jam. But all right, Andy, number two,
Al touched on this already. Almond Brothers.
Eat a Peach, which has a watermelon on the back for some reason.
I love the inside of it, man.
Yeah, it's cool.
Grip, you know?
I'm missing that.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm missing that album art.
With Mr. Mushroom.
Yeah. I need to look up who the artist was for that. The inside is such a trip. I'll keep an eye peeled. You never know what I'll find, that I find something trashed and I can send you an album cover.
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye out.
But Ain't Wasting Time No More, Melissa. We talked about Mountain Jet. That takes up side 2 and 4. The Blue Sky. You know, they talk about. I mean, I don't know if Dickie Betts' singing is underrated or not, but I love it when Dickie Betts sings. He's got a deeper register than what oh my God, Greg has. But yeah, this is just a great album, you know, and such class to put Mountain Jam on there, to have Dwayne be a part of this. In fact, of course, he passed away before this came out, so they were able to add it on here. So this came out right after Live at the Fillmore, which was their biggest hit at the moment. But man, and my first album by Almond Brothers that I bought was Brothers and Sisters. Then I moved back because I loved Brothers and Sisters. I thought it was a fantastic album.
Yeah.
But yeah, Eat a Peach is my number 2. All right, Jerry. Number 1.
Numero uno.
Kind of anticlimactic, but Exile on Main Street is my favorite album, 1972.
Dude.
Won't waste any time on it, but, you know, just because of Tumbling Dice, my favorite Stone song. We talked about all the songs already, so I won't repeat any of them. So what, 3 out of the 4? I think that one? Okay.
I'm the oddball without the Stones.
But anyway, that's my number 1. I know it's kind of anticlimactic, but
It's kind of like Ziggy Stardust, 3 out of 4.
Right. I wish I could have been original. Actually, we're doing honorable mentions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, that's my number one. Woohoo!
Al, what's your number one?
The Partridge Family Notebook. Just kidding.
I was like, yeah, okay.
Although I did have Partridge Family albums growing up when I was a kid. I have the Partridge Family crossword album. Got the crossword puzzle on the front.
Oh, that's
I think I still have that one too in my vinyl collection somewhere. But Andy, could you hold up? And there's a reason why I'm asking you to hold up Volume 4 by Black Sabbath for me. So that's my number one. I'm a huge Sabbath nut, and I mean Volume 4 kicks ass. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of the Ozzy era. All right, so Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die starts falling off a little bit. Now, I have this weird CD. It's Volume 4, but it's called Children of the Grave. But it's actually Volume 4 because it has all the songs on Wheels of Confusion, Tomorrow's Dream. There was a lot of these little record labels that would, Sabbath,
like a bootleg.
Yeah, it's not a bootleg. It's actually their albums got licensed out to these other labels,
right?
Okay.
Later on, and it became like a mess, and they didn't own the masters to their albums, and it was the managers that had all this bullshit going on, so they would license their albums out, and then Volume 4 got licensed to some label. What's the label on here? Let me see. Creative Sounds. That's the label. Okay. So, and they put it out as Children of the Grave, and it's got this weird, like, a doll of like, it's like a doll just like laying in like,
dude, that is awesome though,
like weeds or some shit like that.
So it kicks ass though. Man.
But it's got the whole album on here, and plus it's got a bonus track of the end of the album. It's got Children of the Grave live on here. So that's probably why they call this Children of the Grave. Yeah. But it's Volume 4. So Wheels of Confusion. A band that I used to be in, we used to do Tomorrow's Dream, which is one of my favorite songs on here. You got the classic Supernaut, Snowblind, St. Vitus Dancers, Under the Sun, which is one of their heaviest tunes they ever did. And they actually did that song on their last tour, their last like 2 tours, which was really cool to hear. It was like a nice deep cut that they would play. But I love Sabbath so much. I mean, they're one of my top bands, so I had to have that as my number one. And I love Volume 4. When people always talk about Sabbath, they'll always name check the first album, Paranoid, Master of Reality. Mm-hmm. Volume 4 kind of gets tended to be lost in the mix a little bit, but I think it's like just up there with those classic. I mean, the first 6 albums are so classic.
And Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, I think, or.
To me, well, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is actually my favorite album by them, followed probably by Sabotage. To me, that's like the peak era of Ozzy singing, and they were getting a little more progressive on those albums. So, but Volume 4 was really when they really started that experimentation, and they were doing tons of blow too. So,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, that's the way it was in the 70s, man.
Yeah,
But Sabbath, number 1, Volume 4. Kate?
All right. My number 1 is Dr. John's Gumbo. I already talked about some of the being in love with any kind of spooky New Orleans-y, anything like that when I talked about Carney.
He passed away a year ago, right?
Like maybe 2 years ago.
Okay.
It's been a minute. He's been gone for a minute. But this one's a cool one. Usually I don't pick cover albums or anything, but this one's his 5th studio album. It's all covers of original old school New Orleans dudes.
Interesting.
Yeah, this one's really cool because he's covering James Sugarboy Crawford, Huey Piano Smith. He covers. Oh, who else? I'm trying to think of some. Earl King, like Johnny Vincent, all these different old school dudes. Professor Longhair. That's one that's like a weirder one that I think people should check out. I don't know if you like weird stuff like Screamin' Jay Hawkins or Screamin' Lord Such, weird stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that's great stuff, man.
That Professor Longhair in my brain is in that is like spooky, weird music. So I don't know. Those are great. This album kicks off with Iko Iko, and a lot of people know that, and it was made famous by it's a girl singer group. I can't think of who it is right now, but it's probably the most popular cover of Iko Iko is by this other group. But Dr. John's is a big one that's featured in a bunch of different films, and probably one of his biggest hits, which is funny because it's not even his song, it's a cover. What else is on here that you guys might know? You'd have to look up this album. It's fun. It's all classic New Orleans-y stuff. This is another one on that 500 list that I was talking about, that this one's like number 404 out of 500.
Oh, can you send me a link to that? Because I want to check that out.
That podcast is awesome. And I love the guy who hosts it because he's just a fun comedian. He's always doing this like I'm trying to think of the radio DJ that had the like really raspy, like I want to call him Wolfman Jack, but it's not Wolfman Jack. Yeah. But did he do radio? I thought he was TV.
Yeah, he did radio and TV.
He did radio.
Yeah, you'll have to hear this
guy's radio
voice.
than TV.
He does this voice all the time, so it's funny. But this is such a cool thing that, you know, Dr. John made this persona for someone else. He was actually trying to give that persona to a friend of his that was a musician, and his friend didn't want it. And then he's like, fine, you don't like it, I'm just going to use it. And it ends up being this big hit for him that he's like Mac Rebenak is his real name, and turns into Dr. John. And I've talked about it before with him having You okay?
Oh, yeah.
All right. But it ends up being him like having been a guitarist, and then he gets shot in the hand and ends up turning to keyboards and makes this huge career out of it. So he's another one that's like when you're talking about Tony Iommi, and where like some accident happens to them, but it happens to be like a turning point in their career that you wonder if they'd be as famous as they were if they didn't have some kind of weird thing happen to them. Yeah, or like Django. I always bring up Django because I love Django, but that's one that I always bring up. It's like, if this accident didn't happen, would they be that person or be famous the way they are? So
the course of history would have been
different. Yeah, or maybe, you know, they never ended up having any kind of history that they're in now. You know, we're talking about him right now because of all this, like
because of what happened.
Yeah, his persona that he created, and then his friend didn't want it. And it's just so funny to me that happened. But yeah, check out that pod. That's a lot of fun. That 500 podcast with Josh Adam Myers. But this one, and I love Dr. John so much. This isn't my favorite Dr. John album, but I definitely love this one. Like start to finish, this one has so many heaters on it, and it's so much fun. Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Awesome. I will check it out.
What's your number one?
Ziggy Stardust.
So there's one. We all four had that one, right?
I never thought that would have been your number one. But.
And that's because I'm not a big David Bowie fan at all. I'm not a big David Bowie fan, and I'm also not a big fan of the of that glam rock. But man, a good album is a good album.
Yeah.
And 5 years, So Love, Moonage Daydream, Starman, it ain't easy. And then you flip it, you got Lady Stardust, you got Hang On To Yourself, Ziggy Stardust, which is a great track. Suffocating City, Wham Bam, Thank You, Man, and Rock and Roll Suicide. This is a fantastic album from beginning to end. And I do own other David Bowies, but I don't spin them that much at all. But Ziggy Stardust, I do spin a lot. I was kind of surprised myself, Al. I went and I played it, and I just love every song on this album.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to put this at number one. Like I said, I'm not the biggest David Bowie guy, but a great album is a great album. So Ziggy is my number one. And y'all been talking about that Key West. It's always been Key West for me.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm trying to put in my head.
Florida town. It's always been Key West. And if y'all have ever been to Key West before, you walk down these small streets.
Oh, Key West is beautiful. One of the most beautiful places in the country.
Yeah. It was once we went on a cruise, and that was one of the stops was Key West. I got plastered, man, because we took like a tour.
It's easy to do that there, man.
I got so plastered, and I lost my wallet at a restaurant at Smoking Road, and I had to get back on the cruise, and I didn't have my ID on me, but the guy goes, you know what? I remember you. Come on in. So I got home, and somebody mailed me my driver's license and my debit card.
That's cool.
So lucky. Oh my God.
I got another story. I lost my wallet in New York City at Central Park. I lost it at the Imagine John Lennon thing.
Uh-huh.
And I said, man, it sucks. And I went back. I was looking. I couldn't find it. I asked a police officer. I said, hey, did someone turn in a wallet? He goes, yeah, like a little brown one. I go, yeah. So someone found my wallet in New York and turned it into the police. I just had to walk all the way to Central Park Police Department, which was on the other side of the park.
It's 1 mile away.
Yeah, but somebody
so far.
In the middle of New York City.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're so lucky. Probably literally because it was at that spot. Like anywhere else in New York, someone would have stolen it.
And it's so funny because that first time that I went to that Imagine, because I've been there a couple of times, there were these two dudes with a boombox playing music. You would think they were playing Beatle music, but no, they were playing freaking Frankenstein by Edgar Winter.
the other instrumental song that ever pops up on radio.
All right, we are a couple of hours in. I just wanted to do a little recap. We have talked about Blue Oyster Cult, John Prine. We've been through Deep Purple, Pink Floyd, Elton John. Such a big array of different musicians from us four, and it's been a lot of fun. So thank y'all very much. But our 5 honorable mentions. Jerry, what do you got?
Yes, Closer to the Edge, Genesis Foxtrot, Trilogy by ELP, Transformer by Lou Reed, and Manfred Mann's Earth Band.
Oh,
Transformer? Transformer came out that year?
Yeah, it did. By Lou Reed. Uh-huh.
Nice.
Yep.
Couple honorable mentions I got. A band called Dust, which was a 3-piece. They had a album called Heart Attack. This is like their 2 only albums was re-released on 1 CD, and Heart Attack came out in you can see there, 1972. This is Mark Bell, who later went on to become Marky Ramone, drummer of the Ramones. This is the first band that he was in. It was a 3-piece with Marky Ramone, Kenny Aronson, and Richie Wise, which if you're a Kiss fan, you know that they produced Kiss's first 2 albums actually. Yeah. First album and Hotter Than Hell. They were in this band. This was a 3-piece, considered one of the early American heavy metal bands actually. And I mean, listen to Mark Bell, Marky Ramone drumming on here, completely different than what he would drum on the Ramones. Yes, for the Ramones, I mean, he had to learn that punk style of just 4 on the floor. But here, man, he is just like a beast on the kit, man. Listen to this and then get back to me on his drumming, and it'll blow you away. It's like he was really like kind of a Mitch Mitchell, Keith Moon style, like just crazy all over the kit. And
what's the name of the band, Al?
the name of the band is called Dust. Dust. So that's one of my honorable mentions. I don't want to dwell on it too long.
I've never even heard of that.
Foghat's first album. I think it's a great album, great debut. Savoy Brown, Hellbound Train. It's a good
album.
Yeah. Dave Walker was the vocalist on here, who had in the Sabbath story, he actually replaced Ozzy for a very short time in the late 70s when Ozzy left, and then ended up coming back. But Dave Walker was there for a minute, and they actually did a version of Junior's Eyes from the last album with Ozzy, Never Say Die. They did a version with him. It has different lyrics, different like melody line. This is the live album from Grateful Dead, Europe '72. I'm not a huge Grateful Dead fan, but this is a good live album.
Yeah.
Roxy Music's first album came out in '72. Really good. Those are my 5. I can run down more, but yeah, man, this almost made my top 10. This Dust album.
Oh, really?
I can't recommend enough. This CD is a reissue. They only had 2 albums, so get this, and you'll have both their albums. Stream it online first, or YouTube it to see if you like it or not. But they were pretty heavy, man. And this is actually signed by Kenny Aronson too. It's got his signature on here. So yeah, check them out, man. I think if you like the early, heavy rock, they were considered like the early American metal band, 1972. That was their second album, actually, because their first one was 71. So, Dust. Those are my honorable mentions.
Yeah, I found it. Great.
I'll have to look it up, yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of mine, I probably had like 10, but there are other ones that we talked about already. So like Chicago, we talked about, Neil Young, we talked about. We didn't talk about Curtis Mayfield's Superfly. That's a great album. Alice Cooper, School's Out.
I was gonna say,
School's Out.
School's Out.
School's Out. I just forget that one.
Yeah, that's a great one, and that was I don't know, it wasn't in my top 10, but that's a classic,
Yeah.
Al Green's Let's Stay Together dropped this year, and he did 2 albums, but that was the first one, and then he had I'm Still in Love with You was the other one. That one came out later in the year. Trying to look. Cat Stevens, Catch a Bullet 4. Lou Reed, Transformer. I know you mentioned, Jerry. One that I'm always impressed by that probably is a weird off the wall one is Michael Jackson's Ben came out this year.
That's
That's just a great album, and like showcases his talent as a young kid to write like the title track, just a phenomenal song. And it's, how old is he when that dropped? He's just,
I don't know. He's over there playing with Brad.
Yeah, his friend Ben. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions. There's a lot of good stuff that dropped this year that like yeah.
That's phenomenal this year. You're right.
Yeah, and everything's turning 50, and yeah. I mean, it's just exciting. All this stuff, because that like I keep getting ads about that Bowie album that they're doing like a big remaster release for the 50th anniversary of that. It's interesting. There's a ton of different stuff popping up. That's all the 50th anniversary stuff coming out and remaster, reissue, etc. So, what are your honorable mentions, Andy?
Yeah, I think I have. I thought I had 5. No, I don't. Do I? Oh well, I'll just omit one. Y'all mentioned the Blue Oyster Cult one. This is badass. This is just great metal. Love it. This is a couple of them that we did not get to. The Grand Wazoo by Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
And this is a really good instrumental. This will be his last instrumental. This was during the Hot Rats period and the Waka Jawaka. After this will come the Overnight Sensation and then the apostrophe, but this will be the last instrumental with more of a big band sound. I've been talking about this dude because I wanted this so much to be in my top 10. It was in my top 10, but I love this album. It's so much fun. Edgar Winter, They Only Come Out at Night. It's a really good album. It's it is full of life. Ronnie Montrose played the lead guitar on here.
Yep.
And Dan Hartman takes care of a lot of the lead vocals, and it ends with Frankenstein, but also has Free Ride on it. Classic track.
Great song.
This
every movie about the 70s high school, you'll hear that song in there.
This was just
Dazed and Confused.
Just a very fun album.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I gotta spin that more. All Together Now by Argent. It's a really good album with Rod Argent. With Rod Argent. He was from the Zombies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the lead singer of another fun album if y'all want to. It's called Argent All Together Now. I took a gamble on it just because of the name Argent, and I fell in love with it. So
I only know that one song, Hold Your Head Up. That's the only song I know by Argent.
Oh yeah, and that's what starts off this album.
Yeah.
It's Hold Your Head Up. I know that you had touched on this as well, Jerry. The by Elton John.
Great album, man.
This has Honky Cat. I Think I'm Going to Kill Myself, which is such depressing lyrics with such an upbeat beat. You know, this has Rocket Man. I've always loved Rocket Man. I still do. Mona Lisa and Mad Hatters, Hercules. It's a great album. So those are my honorable mentions.
Hey, would you mind if I mention two more albums that I think should get a little love on here?
Yeah, of course.
You mind? A band called Budgie, Squawk.
Yeah, Budgie,
yeah, Budgie, man. Not really known here in America, only known because Metallica covered some of their songs.
Yeah.
I mean, recently their leader passed away.
Was it a couple weeks ago?
Maybe like 2-3 months ago already. But anyway, Squawk by Budgie. That's their second album. They're a really good band. And a band called Mahogany Rush with Frank Marino.
Yeah.
They had an album called Maxoom and really early Mahogany Rush. But Frank Marino was like touted as the second coming of Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
Phenomenal guitar player. I got to see him one time at BB King's here in New York City. And I had to scrape my jaw off the floor. He was so good. And he played like over 3 hours, which is amazing. Yeah, it was. My friend ended up that I went with. He left before me. He's like, dude, I gotta catch the train. I gotta go home. So I'm like, I'm here for the long haul. I'm here till the end. And he played like 3.5 hours, man.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
And I left there, and I was like, this fucking dude, like, is the real deal. You know, one of the last guitar heroes, like, you know, that's still alive and shit.
Yeah.
You know, so. But yeah, I mean, he never got much love here, and you know, he's a Canadian artist, so he more known there. But yeah, man, Mahogany Rush and Budgie, I like those two bands a lot. So I wanted to give them a little love. So I expanded my honorable mention. Sorry about that.
That's all right. No problem.
All right.
Well, does anyone else have another album to add to 1972?
I think we covered, man.
All right, I think
a lot.
Yeah, we covered a lot and a lot of different artists. Some that we've never heard of that we will go ahead and look into. So thank you everyone out there in Facebook land and in YouTube land. Thank you so much for watching us. This was a great podcast for 1972. We got a couple of shows coming up next week. I think Jerry said he wanted to do this. It's about time we've done this. Ranking Led Zeppelin.
Absolutely.
All 9 albums next Wednesday at 8 same time. If y'all want to participate, let me know. Led Zeppelin is one of the greatest bands and a very important band in our lives, so we'll tackle them. It's hard. Jerry and I were talking about before we start that it's hard to believe they only made 9 albums.
Yeah.
And that they're such a big piece of our music history. They're in the fabric of our music, and they only made 9 albums. So next week will be Led Zeppelin, and then we will go on from there. Thank you all for watching, and thank you three for participating. I know that it takes a lot of time to put these albums together, but it's also a lot of fun because we listen to a lot of stuff that we haven't heard in a while, and we love these albums that we've gone through again. So thank you so much for participating. And any last words, guys, before we go?
Yeah, I was born in '72, so I'll be 50 on Sunday. So
you'll
be getting the ARP mail too when you turn 50. All the ARP stuff.
Yeah, I've been getting it already, man.
Oh really?
Oh
yeah.
Hey man, you use them. You earned them, so just use them. It's pretty good discounts on them. So.
Oh well, I'll go to the early bird specials, man.
Yeah, and coffee at McDonald's, man. Hell yeah.
And Denny's, you get big stuff off of Denny's.
Screw it.
Thank you, Andy, for having me on the show.
Again, thank you very much.
Oh well, thank y'all for participating. But it doesn't help that much with the medicines. Just to let you know, in the pharmacy, ARP is useless.
Okay. Thankfully, I don't need any medicines yet. So, you know.
All right, everybody.
Like everybody was saying on my Facebook post, age is just a number. So
it's just another number. It's just gonna be another day.
Yeah,
you know.
Don't mind my midlife crisis that I had there.
Hey.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank y'all. And,
happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Al. Happy birthday. And y'all have a great week. And I will talk to y'all very soon.
Thanks, Andy.
Next week.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a great night. Take care.
Good night, y'all.